Alrighty, guys, what is up? How are you today? It's Papa Gut here. As you could tell, I'm on vacation. Let me just get this hat off. I'm on vacation with my wife right now, and yeah, so we're doing this content from there. Anyway, breaking news, guys. Andrew Tate, Top G, has been banned. How sad. Commentate Elma, right, guys? And this individual here, DAZ Black, is taking credit for it. They released a video, I guess 2 days ago, and Tate was banned yesterday. So I guess there's some truth to it. Anyway, it says Daz watches Andrew Tate. I don't know who Daz is. I looked. He seems to be like a very popular video game streamer. Good for them. So I'm gonna go through it. I'm gonna watch it. But he says right here, for your information, this is what a fat YouTuber gamer can do. So I guess he's a little upset because Andrew Tate doesn't like fat gamers or YouTubers or Twitch streamers or anything. So yeah, it looks like he got him banned. Whatever. On Facebook and Instagram, you know what's funny is I saw somebody on Twitter. They were like, "Oh, well, see, this is the big problem with like multiple media outlets ban him at the same time. This is the problem. They're like working together." And it's like, bro, it's owned by the same company. Uh, anyway, here's my thing. I don't care for like the red pill ideology at all. You guys already know this. I talk about it all the time. I've spoken out against it. Given the opportunity, I would obviously talk to Andrew Tate as well to try to, just try to talk to him. But I don't think that he should have been banned. I understand that it's like the companies have their own freedom of speech. They can do whatever they want. It's whatever. I'm not like upset about it, but I don't think that we should have banned Andrew Tate, not for what he was saying. I know that there are some allegations. I'm going to assume this video goes through it, so I'm going to save it for like that point. We're not going to get into it like in the beginning. We can go through it then. But yeah, man, listen, there are some very extreme examples where I'm like, yeah, they should probably ban people. Like obviously, like literal KKK members or Nazi like members, they should be banned off social media. I'm totally fine with that. I'm not like freedom of speech to a fault. There are instances that I think that we can all agree on. Somebody should get banned. And if the allegations are true about Andrew Tate, and again, we'll get into those later, I could see why they would ban him as well. The thing is that I've looked into them deeply. Again, we're going to wait till we get there. They don't hold enough, they don't hold a lot of water, not as much as you'd like them to. There are some people who are misinterpreting a lot of what he's saying. And I understand why. The biggest problem with the red pill ideology is that it's completely on the foundation that women are less than. Like that's the huge thing. It is a very sexist ideology. Are there good parts to it? For sure. I think that's like anything else. There's some good parts to it, but mostly it's founded on women being like less than. It references the Bible a lot, even though it has absolutely no religious core to it at all. It's like weird. They seem to pick and choose and like to pick the parts of the Bible that say that you should basically control women while not caring about any of the other aspects of it, like devotion to women and whatnot. So yeah, there's a lot of problems to it, but let's watch the video. Let's get into the video here. Let's see. We're enough of this old fat guy rambling. Let's make sure our levels are good.
If a woman is going out with a man, she belongs to that man. That's his woman. So if she wants to do OnlyFans, she owes him some money because she's his.
Like right there. I know we're already pausing, but right there, like that is like a display of like an inequality, right? If a woman does OnlyFans, it doesn't mean that she should give the guy money. You're effectively talking about pimping out your girlfriend or whatever. Like, is it reasonable to be like, hey, since you're making more money, you're going to pay for dinner? That's totally fine. Or you're going to pay for this, or we're going to split the bills 50-50. That's totally fine. That's working well within the means of like a relationship. But when you tell somebody in a relationship that they have to give you money, right? Like you're just talking about pimping them out. Like that's weird, right? That's just bizarre. There's a difference between that and saying like, oh, like the typical or a somewhat typical dynamic is like a guy will work and a girl will stay home and like he'll give her money, but it's in a different way, right? It's like, oh, I'll give you some money here and there. You take care of this. They just have different like standards set. There's a difference between having a different dynamic set versus you give me money directly from your OnlyFans, especially within the context of Andrew Tate, talking about how he makes more money than her. So he just wants like, I think he said 80%. Did he say it here? I think he says 80%, because I've watched this interview.
I said that if a woman is going out with a man, she belongs to that man. That's his woman. So if she wants to do OnlyFans, she owes him some money because she's his.
Yeah, I think he says 80%. I've seen a lot of Andrew Tate stuff. Like I know I've seen a lot of it. So like, trust me, he says like 80%. It's like wild.
So that is you saying that women are your property.
I'm gonna say one thing: women are my property. My wife is my property, but I'm my wife's property as well. That's just how I look at relationships.
Ever seen a woman try and do anything competently?
Yeah, I have.
If you are listening, Andrew Tate.
I know a lot of people are like, "Well, Andrew Tate like makes some jokes." I think that's true. That might have been a little bit of an exaggerated joke, but I also, based on the way that he's okay. So you can make a joke about something, like a little bit edgy joke. And I do that sometimes too. I play off of like stereotypes. So like that's a good joke that I'll make on my thing. I'll be like, I'll make fun of women or something, but I don't mean it. I'm very quick to be like, I'm just kidding. A lot of times though, people will use jokes as like a vehicle to push a point that they believe in a humorous way. And part of the reason is because it usually gets through to people more saying something in a humorous way, but also because then they get to play like, I'm just kidding game and be very disingenuous about it.
You are weird.
I'm gonna find you and take you, Andrew Tate.
And It is weird. I don't really listen. Not for nothing. If you're 40 years old and you're dating like a 20-year-old, you're weird. I know that it's somewhat common for some 40-year-olds to be doing, and I think a lot of young men look at it and go like, "That's what I want to be." No, it's not. That's what you think you want to be until you get older and realize that you're not going to have a robust, mature relationship with a 20-year-old girl at 40. As you get older, you'll understand why that's really dumb. But when you're 40 years old, you have nothing in common with a 20-year-old person in general. So a 40-year-old man is usually like much more like established. They have like their friends, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They don't need the 20-year-old. They just they're just around for like sex. And like I get it, but there's nothing there. There's no development. There's no like intellectual development. You're not going to be able to have a conversation with a 20-year-old at 40 and be able to take them seriously. There's no emotional connection there because they're 20. They're like, you're not, if you're developing emotional connections and you're having like intelligent conversation with 20-year-olds at 40, you're probably massively and wildly immature. It is weird. It's usually something that someone that's going through a midlife crisis will engage with because, like, oh man, this is a young girl. I remember when I used to, fuck young pussy. That's cool, man. I'm just saying it is weird. All right. And if you disagree, I don't know what to tell you. That's your cope. Because, like, if you're not, you should be looking, especially in like your late 20s and like early 30s, you should be looking for like robust romantic relationships because like sex gets tiring. It gets old. Like, yeah, it's cool. But you're going to get to a point where like you're going to want to develop that relationship and you're going to be missing something without it. So get your hoe phase out, boys and girls. And then once you get into like your late 20s, early 30s, like I definitely sit down and really reevaluate what you want in life and what you want in a partner, and go for it,
Why they angry? He's speaking reality. Why you gonna get mad? Cause he's telling you to treat me like a king.
That's not exactly what he's telling you. He's telling you to treat you guys like a king, but then also disrespect women.
Against women, I believe women are the most precious things on the planet. They create life. They should be protected. They should be provided for. You go fuck her.
For sure. That's a nice thing. But then again, he also thinks that they're like male's property. He believes in robust double standards. Like, for instance, it's okay for a guy in a relationship to go on a vacation with his with his guy friends, but girls can't go on relationships with their girlfriends. I'll go on to vacation with their girlfriends. It's weird double standards like that.
That's how it goes. Slap, slap, grab, choke, shut up, bitch, sex. I have nothing against women. I believe women are the most precious things on the planet.
Sparkling water, please. Oh shit, Andrew?
How you doing, bro? Keep her in line, bro. You're doing good. I have nothing against women. I believe women are the most precious things on the planet. When I grab you by your neck and you start annoying me, trying to resist, and I just and then I grab you by your neck again. Then what the fuck are you gonna do? Your face is collapsed.
Jesus Christ. All right, before recording and leading up to today's DAZ watches, I received calls and messages from women coming forward about Andrew Tate. Women coming forward. They told and showed me the horrors and personal experiences from threatening behavior upwards, including sexual assault. From him or just in general? They told me, because I know, wait, what? Okay. Coming forward about Andrew Tate. Okay. So I guess Andrew Tate did this? They told and showed me many horrors and personal experiences from threatening behavior upwards and including sexual assault. Unfortunately, I cannot show this evidence as they asked the evidence not to be revealed as they are worried for their safety. Okay.
How's it going, Dazzlers?
Okay, so it's quite possible that those are real. So it's quite possible that that's real. Unfortunately, without the evidence. Okay, so it sounds like there's people that are coming forward about having inappropriate interactions with Andrew Tate The problem is how do you verify? Like, did we Dude, this is the big problem. Is I understand that like there may be people that have had really bad experiences with Andrew Tate. There might also be people who are pretending that they knew who Andrew Tate was, messaging DAZ, and he's like, "Oh, I believe this is true." It's also possible that DAZ is engaging in like not verifying information, or just taking whatever he's seeing as face value, or potentially even making it up. I'm not saying he would do that. I don't know the guy. I'm just saying that like it makes it really difficult when you say people came forward about a thing, and we have to be very careful about how we interact and engage with different things like this, because we need to be careful we need to be careful to respect people's potential trauma, but we also need to be careful to not leverage false accusations against somebody to deplatform them.
Welcome back to DAZ Games and another DAZ Watches. Quite possibly the most unique DAZ Watches I think I've ever filmed or done research into. I've just got off the phone with a woman. Now, depending on the outcome of this video, you would have heard the phone call, but as I'm filming this now, she's going to get back to me to see if she's happy to submit her evidence in this video. If I do not include the phone call that I've just had, it is because she has decided that she would like to keep her self-private, as she is concerned, as many other women are, about her safety when it comes to who we are reacting to today, Andrew Tate. The phone call that I've just had is with a young woman who knew Andrew apparently very well, and the women that are coming forward to me, who are reaching out to me and telling me their stories, they involve situations of abuse, violence, sexual violence, assault, and unfortunately everything that you're seeing is not a character. This is exactly who Andrew Tate is. I am not the police. I'm not here to pass judgment. It's not my place. But I do have a platform, and with my knowledge of the current situation and multiple women coming forward to me, my advice to them was to go back to the police, speak to them, and my platform will always be a voice.
Well, that's a good thing to have the police, to go to the police with a lot of this stuff.
For women.
Unfortunately, it's probably been so long that nothing can get done. But again, I'm a little bit apprehensive about like false accusations potentially being leveraged against Tate. Or, which actually seems to be very common, is there are some people who are telling the truth, and then a lot of people who aren't telling the truth, and then you kind of get lost in this weird game of like who's telling the truth, back and forth, left, right, and up, down, and sideways.
And men of domestic abuse, sexual violence, and assault. I will always speak up against it, and I don't care how much of a G you are. Today we're leaving internet trends, we're leaving humor, we're leaving diss tracks, we're leaving everything out of this because this has turned into something that I quite frankly, I'm not surprised. That phone call just happened.
I mean, if these things are true, I wouldn't be surprised either, based on what Andrew Tate says and whatnot. So, but I'm just, again, it's just appropriate to make sure that this evidence is true, and I don't know how they would do that.
And if it's in the video, it's because she has asked it to be, and if it's not, that's what happened just now. But for those who don't know, and I find it very hard to believe that many of us don't know who Andrew Tate is, I don't think I have to do any explaining. But let's get into this. Who is Andrew Tate? Andrew Tate is a internet personality and multi-millionaire, self-made businessman, said to run a pyramid-schemed empire based on giving out business advice.
Hey, it's a multi-level marketing scheme, okay? What you do is I bought in, and I'm an affiliate or whatever, so I sell to other people. I take their money, and they're not going to make money. 95% of them aren't going to make money, but I make a little bit of money, and then I give money to Andrew Tate, and he makes all the money. Like, that's pretty much how it works. I'm sorry you young men are getting scammed. Can we just, sorry you young men getting scammed. Can we just talk about, though, like, why some young men are gravitating towards, like, Andrew Tate? I think some of it is, like, the sexism and whatnot, but I think the majority of it is because I think that young men are feeling kind of mistreated and disenfranchised by the system. And a lot of you will be like, well, no, men aren't oppressed. Well, this is the problem, is that we obviously have oppression. Women are obviously oppressed, right? They're in different ways. Men and women are oppressed in different ways. There are different positives and negatives to men and women. In Western countries, women are not nearly as oppressed, obviously, as other countries. But, like, you could find issues. Like, for instance, women can't a lot of times go out on the street at night. They just can't walk around at night. Once it hits a certain time, it's like they're vampires. You have to go inside, right? Obviously, that's a problem. You know, women have to make sure that they don't leave their drinks alone. Women have to make sure that they monitor themselves a lot more than men tend to have to. On the flip side, though, there are some men issues. One of those is that there is much more of a expectation to succeed in society on men. And when you see a society where it's less and less easy, it's more and more difficult to succeed
these men are starting to get frustrated, and they're turning to things like get rich, quick schemes from Andrew Tate, or like ideologies like how can I be the best? Because they just want to be better, and if that means that they have to treat women like shit, they don't care. Because at the end of the day, like it's just like they want to be able to be successful, and it's hard to be successful nowadays. A lot of it is like socioeconomic issues. There's a ton of money that's getting funneled to the top, not so much money for the middle class people. You're seeing less and less jobs every day. Overall, you're seeing less people participate in the labor force. You should look into, like, unemployment isn't the only statistic we look at. Jobs fluctuate, but overall trends, it shows us that there are less and less people that are able to participate in the workforce. There are less and less jobs. Those jobs have larger disparities between them, right? Like you're seeing a lot more lower paying jobs. We're just like phasing out a lot of middle paying jobs. We're not advocating to young people the right jobs to do, like technology jobs or welding or HVAC. It's just a lot of crazy shit going on. So that's a big problem. And then on top of that, you see on social media, young men are like, "Oh man, I'm feeling depressed," and it's so funny because people are like, "Oh, don't have toxic masculinity." But then a young man says, "I'm depressed and I feel like I'm getting kind of shit on," and all of a sudden women are like, "Well, no, you're a man, you don't have any problems." Not all women at any capacity, but you have like this bullshit online TikTok back and forth gender war between children. And it's children engaging in this shit, yelling at each other. So like I think that you have to target these types of things mostly. And I think a lot of people are talking about it, but mostly just like giving people the ability to have fucking robust and decent jobs to raise a family on, I think will clear up a lot of this stuff.
I haven't really looked too much into the business because unfortunately everything else has just overshadowed it, but apparently it's a very successful business and many young men are being coached by this man on how to lead into the future, beating their chests. As most men are taught in life, we must grow up strong, we must grow up tough,
yes,
and we must never back down from a fight or show emotion.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know about back down from a fight. You gotta pick your battles, but you should show. I mean, like, you don't need to show emotion to everybody, but you can show emotion to like close people to you. That's what you should do. You should be able to get your emotions out well, because you're always going to show emotion. This is the problem with like this toxic idea of it. It's like, yeah, talk to your fucking mom or your dad or whoever is your support system, your friends, your girlfriend, your wife, whatever, about like your shit. Express your emotions positively. If not, it's going to build up and you're still going to express them. It's just going to be through anger, and you might hit somebody or hurt somebody or lash out against the world. So anger is an emotion. If you understand that, every man has always exhibited emotion, right? You don't have to cry, and you don't need to cry to the fucking internet or everybody around you, but you should have like a strong relationships with people to be able to talk to them about whatever is stressing you out.
And Andrew Tate has won over his own fans, not just because of his lavish lifestyle of fast cars, jets, and having a very successful background in MMA. But that's not what's grabbed the internet's attention.
What's your Bugatti look like?
And him being a kickboxer.
Let me tell you something, bro. I'm sorry I'm pausing so much, but I'm on vacation right now, and I got like a nice, like a mid-sized SUV. That's what I rented. When I got there, they had nothing left, so I was pissed. So the woman just told us to pick anything out of like the premium area. So I took a Dodge Charge. I didn't have to pay more for it either. It was awesome. My wife's looking at me. She's like, "Why are you taking that?" So that's because I want to. I told her I'm a man. I said I'm a real man. And then I said, "Is it okay if I take it?" She's like, "Yeah, it's fine." Hey, listen, I wanted to try it out. It's actually very comfortable. I might actually buy one now. Something in there. The seats are so comfortable. Holy fuck.
It's just the start of it. Really, his career started back when he was in Big Brother, and he was evicted because footage of him beating a woman with a belt, who I have come to understand was his former girlfriend, was released. I cannot show all of.
Yeah, so my understanding, and I watched it. It's pretty intense, but I've watched it. She's in lingerie, and they're both saying that it was like a sex thing. It's quite possible it wasn't, and she's lying. But we also, we have to take her word for it. I think that it's based on the context where she's in. It's more intense than the type of role play that I've ever done, which is surprising to me. But if it seems to be, she's in lingerie, seems to be sexually oriented. They both say that that's what it is, and you know what I mean. Like, you take their word for it, even if we don't want to, because you don't like Andrew Tate. I mean, I think that's the most reasonable conclusion based on all the evidence given to us.
The footage, but this is all out on the internet, so I'll mix it up with the audio of the footage. And this is
he gonna say
that I believe.
Is he gonna say the proper framing of it though? Like, I
cannot show all the belt, who I have come to understand was his former girlfriend, was released.
Yeah, so he just says it's his former girlfriend. He doesn't say that. Okay, let's see what he says.
Footage, but this is all out on the internet, so I'll mix it up with the audio of the footage.
Okay.
And this is the footage that was
what I look like.
That I believe got Andrew Tate removed from Big Brother.
Being with what? With what?
Oh, this is a different one.
Belt, because you're a jerk. Show me the bruises. Damn. I have an idea.
Oh, this isn't the one I was referring to, actually.
My ideas? Run out my ideas.
Okay.
That's right, lock the door, you knew I was going to beat the out of you. If you behaved, I wouldn't have to hit you, would I? You don't. Get out. You can't stay in there forever.
Now, the woman I've spoken to...
Yeah, so I've totally forgot about that clip. There's been no explanation on that clip from what I've seen. I mean, I can't... your best argument, and it's purely speculative, is maybe he was playing it up for Big Brother because he was recording it. But I've never seen him reference that clip. I think that's pretty solid evidence, at least to suggest that he's like abusive to women. Sure.
Said that Andrew has many girls that apparently he has a very deliberate abusive relationships for. And some of the girls have come forward saying that they were just playing, joking, and that this was part of their dynamic in their relationship.
Yeah.
Go tell the camera.
Yeah, like this one.
You don't do as I say. Don't say it. English, proper English, no Slovak bull. Say it to the camera.
He beats me when I don't listen.
That's not what I said. Say it. I said I said tell the camera I beat you when you don't do as I say. I didn't say the word listen. Did I say the word listen? Did I say the word listen? You stupid bitch. I didn't say the word listen. Did I say listen? Did I say listen?
No.
Look at the camera. Did I say listen?
No.
Did I say listen to you? Did I say it?
No.
Did I say it?
Okay.
Look at the camera. This is what happens. You don't listen. Look at the camera. Why are you getting hit? Why are you getting beaten? You don't listen. You do as I say.
Now, this is what Tate had to say about these clips being released. And then we'll give my views.
Well, also, you should show at least what the second girl says. Because what the second girl says is that she's like, yeah, no, we were just playing around. Like, that was like our normal thing, blah, blah, blah. Like, she actually talks about it. Like, she actually says something. Maybe he just didn't find her saying that. But it would be good to include that context. Let's see what Tate has to say. I wonder if he references the first one, because I've never seen a reference of it.
So, yeah, exactly. So, you were on a reality TV show, and a video of you hitting a woman with a belt.
Yeah, so video of me hitting a woman with a belt blows up. It's all this is like 10 years ago, before the internet was big. So it's like English tabloids, blah, blah, blah. Andrew's a woman beater, Amber's a woman beater. The woman, obviously, now once again, this is an IQ test, right? Because any guy who's bad with women would look at it and go, Tate's a woman beater. Any man
Well, yeah, no, any man would say that.
who's actually a G, who's been around a little bit, would look at the video and go, man, she wants that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's obviously a dumb, low IQ, moron perspective. So again, it'd be good for the second clip to show the guy, I mean, the girl's perspective on it, because that's what's elaborated upon is that she's like, yeah, it was just like a game we were playing. He talks about how it's like a sex thing. She's in lingerie, so it's quite possible. But the first clip is still not referenced, so I don't know what's going on there. I can only make the most reasonable assumption that it's an abusive thing.
The crying really gave it away. The uncomfortable, unpleasant body language of the woman in that video, which unfortunately I can't show on YouTube,
Oh, I can turn this
really
up.
gave it away that she loved it, Tate. And you're right, maybe we don't understand because we're not a G. I mean, is that like a gangster sort of thing? I don't know.
Yeah.
She likes it.
A little bit of spanking.
You know, it's normal, right?
But if you're going to get some spanking.
But if you're a dude who never gets laid, you can't fathom that woman would want that. So they can't fathom it. So really, this is not an IQ test. This is a test of how good you are with chicks.
So not really an explanation for it. His fan base seemed to think that this has been debunked as a case of she was up for it. It was a submissive relationship. Now let's put aside whatever.
Again, the second girl came forward and effectively said that in some capacity. She said that it was like, so like, I just need you to understand that. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but you're not showing the second girl coming forward. She comes forward. She talks about it. Here, let's keep
Everyone
watching.
thinks for a second, and I'll tell you what I think.
I don't know if I can
Without
find it.
physically seeing the video, it's hard to judge just from audio how brutal Andrew is treating these women. She was crying. She did not look happy. This did not look like an environment where it felt safe and there were restrictions in place. When you have to hide yourself in the toilet because you know what's coming, whether you think you're into it or not, this is not okay. This is not okay behavior. This is not the behavior of a G. This is not the behavior of a man. And with everything else coming out and his words, which we'll get more and more into in this video, it's very, very apparent to me, and he doesn't deny it. He gets off on her.
Let's hear. Hold on a second. Okay, this is the girl from the second video. I think it's just important to show this just for context.
I just wanted to say something about the video that's been released recently about me and my ex-boyfriend, Andrew Tate. Andrew is my still great friend. What you guys saw in the video, it's just what we used to do. It was just pure game. He's a great guy. He would never hurt anyone unless he's fighting. And I just wanted to let you know that this is a huge misunderstanding because I heard he got kicked out from the house because of it, which I found very unfair. It's because it was just pure game. It's just what we used to do.
Yeah, so I think that this would have been good to add into the video for context. You could just say, like, you might think that she's lying. I don't know that she is. It's quite possible that a lot of this stuff was coming out for the big brother to try to make him seem like a bad guy or something, to make it like kind of jerk up, to play up this character on Big Brother that he was trying to perform as. There's a lot of different things here. I think that the problem though is that, like, I don't know, again, I don't know if it was intentional, but like that was removed. That should have been added. It's very easy to find if you're researching this deeply enough. It's attached to almost every single clip, like of that second one. That is attached to a lot of them. So I think, like, it should have been very readily available for him to be able to find. I'm not sure why he didn't add it into his video.
Women, making them feel vulnerable, dominating them, and letting them in their place. And that's really what's led Andrew to the top of the internet, where he's been searched more than people like Taylor Swift. His comments and misogynistic views have been met with obvious anger and frustration, but surprisingly, a lot of men and women have agreed with a lot of his views. Now, I will say this, for the people saying that, oh, Andrew actually makes a lot of points I agree with, though. Oh, okay, wipe the slate clean. Let's forget about it all, shall we? Because he said a few good things and some things that I agree with. Do you know who else did that? Hitler. Hitler gave great advice to people in his lifetime. Killed millions of people, though. In life, you have to weigh up a person. Even the most evil, corrupt people have a good side. Some of them might even have a good sense of humor. But when you weigh it up...
I mean, like, listen, I wouldn't compare Tate to Hitler, but what this guy is effectively saying is that, like, they're charismatic. Hitler and Andrew Tate are both very charismatic, and charisma isn't just a positive thing. I mean, I guess you would consider it a positive, but your ability to communicate, speak, talk, get through, well, these are all the same things. I'm just being redundant at this point. But that charisma, it leads people to be able to get into positions of power. And oftentimes people in positions of power, at least ones that are public figures, I suppose you'd say, are very charismatic. It's not just about your intelligence, it's about how charismatic you are. And so that's what he's effectively speaking to right now, which is true. They are both charismatic people. You might not want to see Hitler like that, but that's the reason why he was able to rise to power. And also taking advantage of, a horrible, economic destruction of Germany. So
counters. You have to judge.
Which, if you think about it, I was just talking about before, Andrew Tate's taking advantage of our economic shit going on right now, where young men are feeling like they can't get jobs. So I guess there are more parallels than we think.
A person by their actions, and sometimes you have to dig a little bit deeper and really think about what someone's saying and what those words mean behind it before you can say, it's okay because they said a good thing yesterday. I don't buy that shit. I don't get that. Let's dive a little deeper. The control over women has been the subject of hot debate, and it really came from one of the most popular clips, and admittedly it was one of the first clips I saw on TikTok of Andrew, was him stating that he was entitled to a OnlyFans model's, if they were his girlfriend, he would be entitled to a percentage of their money.
80%, I think it was.
Pretty much all of it.
You say a lot of stuff about women like that they're your property.
That's not what I said. I was talking about an OnlyFans company when that question was asked. But I said that if a woman is going out with a man, she belongs to that man. That's his woman. So if she wants to do OnlyFans, she owes him some money because she's his.
Well, that's crazy.
She is his girl.
What was that have to do with anything?
Because she's his.
So that is you saying that women are your property.
It's not about being property. It's about the fact that she belongs to him and the intimate parts of her
That is, by the way. It's not about property, but she belongs to him. It's like, okay.
body belong to him because they're in a relationship. And if she wants to sell those, he has a stake in those intimate parts of her body.
So I agree with that, kind of. He does have a stake in that, in the sense where he should be able to say no. Just as, like, if a guy wanted to do OnlyFans and he's with a girl, she should be able to say no. Like, once you're in a relationship with somebody, you aren't just for you anymore. You guys are both like a mixture of each other. But like, it's mutual ownership, right? So that boundary absolutely can be said of, like, I don't want you doing this, or I'm okay with you doing this. 100%, 50-50, right? Dream work makes the team work, am I right? But again, that dynamic of like, I'm just gonna get money, like I'm gonna pimp you out, is what it really comes down to. Rather than like, hey, if you're gonna be making this money, I think that you should pay this bill, or you should pay for this, or that. That's very, very, very different than like this pimp esque type of a thing that Andrew's talking about here, and that's why it is sexist, because it's also one directional. And if a guy was doing OnlyFans, Andrew would not say, oh, he should have to give money to her, right?
Reverse, male porn star owes the woman.
I don't know, because I think the women belong to the man. I think the
See?
women
That's
Yeah,
inherently
there you go.
where you get called sexist.
So regardless of how Andrew wants to put a spin on it, the fact that he believes that if the positions were reversed, if a man was to be making money from his body, a woman gets nothing. I've heard other interviews of Andrew stating that in marriage, a woman, her father, hands them off its tradition and is given to the man. This is very true in a lot of religious ceremonies, and most weddings, the father gives their daughter away. This is not a contractual agreement. You are not purchasing the woman. She is not given away to serve you.
That's historically how it's unfortunately been. Like you are kind of purchasing the woman, and that's where it comes from, though, is that Andrew leans into these archaic ideas of what women should be.
Dad walking his daughter up the aisle and say, "I support your decision." That's it. That's the spiritual meaning behind it. The fact that Andrew has this warped,
I mean, like now it is. Back then, you didn't really get a choice, but
view on that women belong to him is crazy to me. But also, we're still going through this in government today, you know. Men who have this ideology, much like Andrew, are the same men that passed rights taken away from women on abortion rights. We're not going to get into that one today. That's
you know what the unfortunate thing about this video is so far. Like, okay, I wish he brought up that one clip that I was saying. So far, this is a pretty well thought out video, though. This is pretty solid. The problem with this video, I'm just going to let you know what the biggest issues with this video is going to be, and we haven't even gotten through most of it, but it's that like this guy isn't what a lot of people in the red pill community would even consider worth respecting. So nobody's going to give a fuck about what this guy has to say, and that's not a criticism from me to him. But that's my understanding about how the red pill community works. They're going to be, look at this guy go, oh, fat, loser, gamer, look at all the stuff. Oh, look at all the shit he has on his walls. Like, oh, what a loser. He doesn't mean anything. He's a beta. This is what Andrew Tate talks about when he says, like, this is a weak man. It's unfortunate that people are just going to say, like, nah, fuck this guy. And, like, there really does need to be, it's just unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. People are just going to dismiss what he has to say because of that, at least in the red pill, which is the community that I think really needs to see this. They really need to, like, you know, kind of to engage with this type of material rather than just dismiss it instantaneously.
Issue, but it's the same mentality.
Say the truth.
Which is?
Women can't fight. Men are stronger. Like, more true things. I think another thing I said is and maybe I'll upset the ladies on the podcast. I hope not.
Oh, yeah. I mean, men tend to be stronger than women, if that's how you want to interpret that. Women can fight, though. But men tend to be stronger than women. But the thing is, like, who cares? It doesn't actually matter. When it comes to sports, for sure, it matters. But, like, in our everyday lives, why does that matter? It doesn't. Right? The fact that women may not be aren't as physically strong generally as men. Why does that matter? Every day with the advent of like new technologies, that matters less and less. That gap is going away every single day. And the overwhelming majority of jobs that are available, it's just about who can perform them. And there you go. Like truck driving jobs, women can drive trucks perfectly fine. You know, you could argue that a lot of it is socialized as to why women don't drive trucks in our society, right? They can do like retail jobs. They can do pretty much anything. They can do like social work. They can do anything. You can be police officers. I know people will be like, yeah, but they're not as strong. Maybe that's true. But then on the offhand, women might be bringing something to the field that men don't. Maybe they're more compassionate. I'll tell you one thing. If you have a domestic abuse situation, you definitely want to show up with a male cop and a female cop. Because you want a guy to be able to like handle the guy, but then a girl to be able to deal with. And this is assuming that the abuser is a male, which most times they are. But you want a male cop to deal with a male cop. I mean, the male cop to deal with. Well, it might be a male cop because cops can be abusive. Anyway, all jokes aside, the male cop for the guy and then a female cop for the girl, because if she's been getting beaten, she's gonna feel a lot more comfortable talking to a female police officer. 100%, right? You know, in my personal anecdotal experience, women tend to be more, I guess you'd call it, say, emotional, but they tend to be more empathetic. So that's something that we could definitely, we're talking now about how we could use more like social workers within the system, people who have like more understandings of like mental health issues. And if you're going to talk about how men, if we're going to talk about how men are stronger and they're more dominant and they have like this type of biological advantage, let's talk about the biological advantage women tend to have. Women are like, I think there is a level of biology where it comes from like women are caretakers. They're more emotional. They're more empathetic. Not emotional, but they're more empathetic. They express their emotions differently. Let's talk about men, you know, more anger, which is something that's profoundly positive and necessary in our society, right? So like there are going to be different areas where men and women are able to, you know, hold benefits based on like, you know, their general, just generally being men or women, etc. Right? You understand what I'm saying? Right? So for the most part, these don't matter. You have a job. Can you do the job? You got the job. That's it. That's pretty much it. So the fact that men are stronger, what does that matter? Other than like, oh, men are stronger, we can beat women into submission. You know what I mean? Like, what does it actually matter? It doesn't. It doesn't matter at all. Except for in the WWE, women wrestlers are terrible. So,
but please correct me if I'm wrong. I said if I were to get on a plane and that plane was to fly into the eye of a hurricane, there was a 50% chance of it crashing, I'd want a male pilot because I think that males are better under stress and under pressure. That's just true. Women are.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't really care about that. I mean, like if there's a woman pilot and she was, who cares? Who cares? like we're talking about two professional pilots. I just want a good professional pilot to deal with the situation. I really don't give a shit if it's a man or a woman. Like who cares what it is, as long as they're trained. This is just weird.
Are better at other things than men, and I'll sit here and say women are.
Go.
Like what?
Him. Now you can take away from this that the biological truth that most men are larger in frame and stronger in muscle. Biologically, no one's an idiot. Everyone knows that's true. But that is where that's what people listen to. He said something that's correct. But and they seem to forget everything else that he's just said. Men make better pilots. I don't know what statistics there are out there that prove that. Of the female pilots I've met at like air shows and stuff, they're some of the best pilots in the world.
So so Andrew Tate in like this crisis situation is gonna probably lean on like spatial, you know, spatial awareness and whatnot. Men tend to have more spatial awareness than women and reaction time. The thing is, I don't know how much of that is biological or how much of that is like environmental. I don't know, you know, because like for instance, more men play video games because video games are generally created for men and it's more acceptable for them and not so much for women. That's definitely changing every single day. Drastically. But now that you're seeing more women in video games, you're seeing more women play better in video games. I don't know if there's actually a biological disadvantage to being a woman in a video game. We haven't really gotten there yet. Women tend to gravitate towards different games for the most part, like fucking, what is it called? Animal Crossing? But we, you know, if we see more women in this industry, you might see better reaction times. You also may not, you know, so I don't really know specifically. But again, in a crisis situation, I don't think that it necessarily matters. I mean, like, what a weird scenario.
And as a combatant, as a decorated athlete in martial arts, for him to say that women can't fight is crazy to me. You've only got to like watch UFC and watch the women's division, and in most cases, they're fully capable.
Those women beat the fuck out of each other. We know that the women aren't as strong, but they're still very entertaining. They definitely can fight. They'll beat the fuck out of me, mommy. I'm just kidding. All right.
Of taking down a man much bigger and stronger than them. So this is horseshit. This is all.
Well, I don't know about taking down a man much bigger and stronger than them.
Fully capable of taking down a man much bigger and stronger than them.
Well, that's probably not true, right? If they're bigger and stronger, I mean, I don't know, unless you're just talking about raw strength, like a power lifter versus a like fucking Ronda Rousey. Yeah, Ronda would probably win, but if they're both training in the same field, like, you know, anyway.
This is horseshit. This is all horseshit.
They're better at X, but I will say that men are better at Y. I'm not going to sit and pretend that we're all the same. We're not. Under pressure, when your life is on the line, anyone who's honest would want a male pilot in said situation. You would not.
No, I wouldn't care.
I don't think most
people
care.
To say that like women are his accounts on women are very like strange to me, and I've met a lot of women.
I'm going to explain to you why Andrew Tate has like a very ignorant ideology when it comes to women. It's because he's 35 dating 18-year-olds. That's it. That's 100% all of it is. That's the problem. Is he's dating younger girls as he gets older, and so his anecdotal relationship with women as women that are children, not children. So I'm not saying that like if it's legal, it's legal. That's not what I meant. But like I look at an 18-year-old boy or girl, like that's a kid. That's a child. Like you're dumb. And I'm sorry if you're watching this, but you're dumb. When I was 18, I was really dumb. You're probably smarter than I was at 18. But like you're young. You don't have any experience in the world. You don't really understand a lot of things that are going on. You're very ignorant. You're not going to be good at really anything. You're just kind of you just got out of school. You know, that's the beginning. That's the end of the beginning, you know, or the beginning of the end. I don't know. You just finished school. Now you're in the real world, right? So, you know, you're very you know, I guess it's a ignorant in some capacity. You're still learning. And Andrew Tate's constantly dealing with 18-year-old immature girls who need life, go through life with experience. They need to generate different things, but they're not necessarily looking for that because they're like, oh, rich guy, I'm just going to sit with that for a while. You know, that's not all women. That's the women that he goes for, you know? So he has this perspective of women based on the women that he talks to and he interacts with because they're young and immature, and that's who he goes for. Because he doesn't care about robust like relationships with women. So that's where he gets his skewed ideology from.
He sort of seems to describe women that are like really emotional, very materialistic. Sometimes when Tate is making a good valid point, he'll have to interject a jab. You know, he'll have to get a jab in there against women and just bring them down a notch. And that's evidence in other interviews he's done.
9 months. If you're not gonna, sorry, my headphones fell off. If you're not gonna have, if you're not gonna have children, what are you gonna do with your lives?
If I'm not gonna have children, travel, just pursue anything that makes me happy. Try to make money. I love traveling, so I would probably just
drink cocktails on a beach. Okay, next.
So there it is. That's his argument.
Like if she's like, yeah, maybe I'll make a lot of money and travel. Okay. Oh, so you're just gonna be lazy on a beach. Very interesting. Yeah, it's like overly subtle jab there.
He has experience with the girls that he attracts, and he just offloads that on the entire gender as a whole.
Yeah, true.
We need to stop taking our experiences with our girlfriends, our boyfriends, and hitting everyone who's innocent with the same.
I don't do that because just want you guys, women out there, to know something. None of you are as intelligent as my wife. You're all worse than my wife. You're terrible and you suck. So I will never do that. I will never take my. I'm just busting chops, but yeah.
Shovel because they're the same gender as the person who hurt you. This is a case that I think Andrew Tate needs to break because Andrew is a very materialistic man, and I don't think he tries to hide that. I think if me and him were talking right now, he'd say, absolutely, I am a materialistic man. He raves about Bugattis and fast cars and money and expensive cigars and your brands, and that's his lifestyle. He throws his lifestyle out there. This is what you have to be. This is a man. If you're going to be a very materialistic person and think those are the things that matter in life, you will attract that in the opposite sex. You will attract a girl who is also wanting just the money, who also just wants to buy handbags and have their nails done and all the other little jabs that Andrew seems to get in. This is not all women. I have a girlfriend and rarely wears makeup. I've never seen her get her nails done. She loves to travel. She doesn't want kids. And she's one of the most wonderful human beings on this planet. And I know,
loser. I can't wait to have kids. I'm just busting chops, so you do you.
There's so many other women who are just not these type of women that are very material.
Well, most women I don't think are necessarily like material. They might be more materialistic than men, maybe, generally, but not in the way that Andrew Tate like talks about. Right, like when I met my wife, she wasn't like into anything. She was very independent. She did all of her shit by herself. She still is very independent. But like now that we're together and we've been together for a while and we have the money, like I buy her really nice things and she wants them now. Like I've opened the desire. So now we, like women, I think a lot of women tend to collect some kind of cosmetic thing. Doesn't mean all women do. My mother doesn't, but my wife does. So we collect like Disney lounge fly bags, and I like it. It's fun. That's what I like to spend my money on. For my wife, I like to buy my wife shit like that. Yeah.
You gotta act material, expect to get material, and this is all Andrew knows. He thinks he knows women because he beds and controls and manipulates all these women that all they care about is fame and standing on a yacht. And there are women out there like this, as there are men. Just because that's all he knows, and of course that's all he knows. He's material. He's attracting material girls. Girls with common sense don't go near him. So of course he doesn't know the other side.
He's a bit of a walking red flag, I'll tell you that much.
Same thing, like travel, focus on my career, things like that. Like my career will become my baby.
What about you?
I honestly just want to get right into my career.
So a bunch of women.
Why does Andrew look so uncomfortable here?
I honestly just want to get right into my career.
I could see why he wears sunglasses inside now. I understand he looks a little uncomfortable and his eyes look a little sporadic, but okay. Sorry, Andrew.
So a bunch of women.
Not trying to body shame you, brother.
Who choosing not to have children, which is we're not in the 1940s anymore. It's not expected for women to just have kids.
It's actually observed that in Western countries that have more like an abundance of resources, they tend to have lower birth rates. Women may want to focus on their career more instead of just having kids and stuff like that. So yeah, well, whatever. That's what's a good thing we have immigration to offset our aging population.
At home and bake fucking bread. I thought we were past this ideology. So that's a very fair answer. Andrew's asked.
By the way, it's okay if you want like a more traditional relationship. There's nothing wrong with wanting to personally have a traditional relationship. You just shouldn't force that onto society, right?
want to do if you guys didn't want to have kids. They've given very reasonable answers, which most men also would not want kids for the same reasons. What's his response? Oh.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Well, I plan on becoming a doctor.
Nice.
So I'm just my career.
Go do it. Go do it. It's your life, you know?
I could never be able to do that. It's too much work.
Damn right.
A life without children is vapious, and it's inane, and it's pointless. And you may sit here and think that your career matters, but the truth is...
Matters? He's from Cornwall now. Matters? Boy, Andrew Tate, he needs a Bugatti tractor.
Your job will fire you out of women. Don't give a
right.
Don't give a solitary shit.
So true.
And when you're 52 and you're past it with no grandchildren in a house by yourself, and all your friends have grandchildren...
What is this anger? Why?
Yeah, why is he
like
so
he
angry?
has to tell them. No, this is a very unhealthy man with a very...
You know, it's funny because we could probably use more doctors in general. You know, I think they're all in Florida right now, so those are probably American women. Yeah, it'd be good to have more doctors, especially since how expensive it is to become a doctor in the United States. And part of that is because of how much schooling is required. You should require schooling, but they add like bullshit that you don't necessarily need, like more advanced math classes and whatnot. And it depends on the doctor you're going to be, but to be like a primary care physician, you know, it increases the price of it. Let's not get into a whole... Okay, we don't have to get into... Sorry, let's not get into that.
Addiction to the domination of women. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, you know what, as a general thing, and when you get older, you might regret to an extent having kids. But we also don't understand that people are people. And, like, telling a woman she wants kids when, like, she doesn't. If she doesn't want to have kids, that's, like, condescending, right? Like, you don't need to explain to another woman who's, like, or a woman that's like, yeah, you know what, I don't want to have kids. And right now I don't plan to. When, like, that could change. And, you know, then they could have a kid. Telling them that now, it's like why? Like you don't know. Like what you're doing right now is you're saying that you, as a man, know better than her as a woman in what she wants to do with her body. And it's like, what are you talking about, bro? Like she just doesn't want to have fucking kids right now. She wants to work in her career. She may never want kids, or maybe she'll get older and want kids, and she'll be in a place where she can provide for that kid.
Full life, and you're sitting there by yourself. Do you think the fact that you can afford a few extra Gucci bags is going to genuinely...
Or you could fucking adopt. And saying the Gucci bag thing. Like, oh, you just want more Gucci bag. Or maybe they just want to have a successful career. A lot of men want successful careers. A lot of men will get to a point where they're financially stable and they'll still want more. It's just like this innate desire to want more. Some women are like that too. That's it. It's as simple as that. There might be more women that are going to be like that if we change the social atmosphere, right? So who gives a fuck? That's it. They're hungry for success, just like men are hungry for success. Who gives a shit?
Really make you feel happy.
See, again, there's the jab. Oh, you're not going to have kids just because you want Gucci bags. Not all these women one of them just said she wants to be a doctor and save lives. These women have goals.
I would become a doctor to take away lives, just the ones that I don't like, you know?
You're still treating them like they're just some basic young 19 LA chick who just is obsessed with Chanel. That is not all women. And of course, this is Andrew's advice. Of course, this is his experience in relationships. Because as he's already said publicly,
he's also said that he prefers to date girls that are 18 or 19 so he can make an imprint on them.
He prefers to date 18.
What is this, fucking Twilight? That was weird. You gotta admit, that dog, Jacob the dog, imprinting on a child? Bro, what were you teaching us? That was fucking weird, bro.
19-year-old teenagers because he likes to imprint on them. Yeah, no wonder your
Can we see him say that? I just wonder.
Girlfriends, all they're interested in is getting their nails done and handbags and going out and partying because they're young. This is why it seems alien to us guys and older women what you're saying about all women. It's not because we're virgins or can't get laid. It's because we're dating real women. You're dating kids that are still developing. So of course your knowledge on women is primitive. Of course.
You gotta be a little careful about the way that you're phrasing this. I'm not saying that he is doing that to be disingenuous, but like I said before, 18, 19-year-olds, those are kids to me too, but it's still legal. And I know a lot of people will latch on and be like, oh my God, you're predatory for dating younger girls. And some older men might be, but I don't think that it's like, I don't think that you should just generally make that prescription. I'm not saying he's saying that, but it's one of those things that could be lost in translation. I mean, they are legal individuals, like 18, 19-year-olds. They're legal. They're just very young and ignorant.
All girls in your eyes only care about getting their nails done. You haven't dated a real woman. And you know why? Because when they get a little bit older than 18, grown up, and they're a bit more mature, most women wouldn't go near you if you were made of gold,
It's
Tate.
true.
And if they do...
It's true, man. That's why, like, if you're an older man, like, you're probably, I don't know.
it's like if you're an older man dating like a younger girl, I mean, you might be able to keep them around, but if you're not emotionally or intellectually mature, they're gonna get to like 23 and be like, I'm done, bye, because they're gonna be like, oh, this guy's weird. You know, they're gonna grow out of you. So you better be careful if you're dating younger women and you're a fucking moron.
Decide to make the terrible mistake of getting with you, they realize, I don't want to be a slave. I actually like my life. Or, with my knowledge, they get you arrested. Date a real woman first before you. They realize, I don't want to be a slave. I actually like my life. Or, with my knowledge, they get you arrested.
Wait, what do you... That's a little bit of a confusing remark to me. Maybe I'm not interpreting the right way.
And if they do decide or mature, most women wouldn't go near you if you were made of gold, Tate. And if they do decide to make the terrible mistake of getting with you, they realize, I don't want to be a slave. I actually like my life. Or, with my knowledge, they get you arrested.
I don't know what that means exactly.
Date a real...
I'm just like... I'm wondering if he's making the assertion that they would get Tate arrested for doing bad things. Okay.
Woman first before you start spewing all this trash everywhere. Not only that, it's not just your attitude, it's because you look like if someone handed a gym membership to a minion. He does look like a minion. Yeah, let's make that trend. Andrew Minion. The same as not all men are muscle-bound dickheads that only believe that who they can...
It's just like a weird... It's just a weird jab. I don't really get it. Like, I don't... Okay, I guess. I mean, it's just to that point, like, considering Andrew Tate likes to make fun of fat people, I understand the retaliation, like, response would be to, like, make fun of him for something, but, like, generally, you'd probably just not want to, you just want to stay away from, I guess, like, the name-calling, because it just kind of makes it seem like you're stooping down to his level. It just seems, like, weirdly, bizarrely immature and kind of dumb, but okay.
Beat up and how much money they can make and how many girls they've had in a jacuzzi makes them a man. What makes people a man is just treating people with fucking respect. Bald-headed, Mr. Potato looking you look like a dildo. I'm sorry, Andrew, you look like a dildo. And I couldn't give a shit. I couldn't give a shit how big and tough you are. Do you want to know something that I've been getting from actual fans of mine as well? Andrew could beat you in a fight, Daz. Why are you bothering? The fact that people out there, young boys and men, even still today, are coming at me saying you can't beat him in a fight. And do you want to know something? Do you want to know what a lot of men won't admit? And again, to me, this is being a real decent man.
Well, yeah, of course he couldn't beat him in a fight, but that shouldn't matter. That's very archaic. I mean, who cares if he can beat you in a fight? That's not how we dictate our like laws. Like, if somebody's stronger than you, they can say whatever they want. That would be a very dumb way to operate, obviously. So that really doesn't matter. You know, we're having like conversations now. So, like, this is more what society is about, conversations. It's how we win the day, you know, especially with guns and whatnot, you know. Like, that's why we have robust police forces. That's why we have the access to guns. Guns are a massive equalizer. So, like, who really cares if he can beat you up?
Who gives a fuck who can beat who up? I'll be the first man to say.
Who can beat whom up, sir?
Andrew Tate, me and him in the ring, he'd whoop my ass. Of course he would. He's a decorated kickboxer, and he's good at it. I'm not here to prove I'm a tough man and I can beat his ass. Very likely would win in a fight against me, if that makes you happy. Doesn't mean I'm scared of the guy. Doesn't mean that should take anything away from this video. Say we did fight. Say we got in there and we beat the shit out of each other.
Well,
then what? It doesn't matter who would win the fight. He's still a prick. I'm still me. Nothing changes.
Well, if you got, you'd probably be fucking concussed or something. I'm just saying.
Discovered who's a better fighter, and that's one of the ideologies behind Andrew and how men should be. And as men, we need to stop generalizing.
Well, I'm gonna give one because I've watched a lot of Andrew Tate. I don't think that he's ever said that a guy who can beat another guy up should be like the domineering perspective. I'm not saying he doesn't walk around like he can beat somebody up, but even when he's in one-on-one conversations, he's more about some kind of mutual respect. Like, I've watched him have one-on-ones like XQC and Hassan, and like obviously Hassan took like a fat W, but it's more about just like mutual respect. So like, you know, that's what fans are saying. I've never seen him say like, "Oh, let's fight over a disagreement." Maybe I'm just wrong, but I've watched more than the normal person should, who's not an Andrew Tate fan, you know? Well, just in general, more than a person should, because they're, you know, but you understand what I'm saying.
This fear of, I'm not tough. Oh, everyone says he can beat me up. I gotta go prove that I can beat him up. Why? Why? Why must we still be in a world where men are raised to believe you must be tough? You are a provider.
Well, I mean, like, what's wrong with that? See, this is where we're going to get a little bit lost. right? So like we should raise men in a world where they should be tough and a provider. It doesn't. But what does tough mean? What does it mean to be a tough guy? It doesn't mean you have to be like physically able to beat everybody up, but you should be able to set. And this is something that women should learn too. But you should be able to set your own boundaries, right? Like, what does it mean to be a tough man? To me, what it means to be a tough man is like in the face of some kind of adversity, whether it's so like another person or a job or whatever. You should be able to affirm and set like a boundary that says like you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing this. It doesn't have to be like we're gonna fight about it, but like if you're with a friend and your friend like constantly like invades a boundary, maybe they come over like for instance when you don't want them to, or you're busy, or they'll push too far into your relationship and be like you shouldn't date this person. You should be able to be tough and be like you need to stop. This is our boundary, and women should do this too. You need to stop. This is a boundary. You need to not cross it. So what is it? I don't think that men shouldn't be raised to not be tough or shouldn't be tough. It's just like, what does toughness mean in our society today? That's a bigger thing. And then he says something else about
we'll be in a world where men are raised to believe you must be tough. You are a provider.
That too. And again, this is something that we should teach men and women to be like a provider. You should be able to be. You should be taught to be as financially independent as possible, so that you're not bound to another person until you're ready to be bound to another person, right? Because then we get in there with like different power dynamics that could potentially lead to abuse. The existence of a power dynamic does not always mean that there is abuse of it. Okay, if you think so, you're silly. Your mom and dad have a power dynamic over you, right? That's not always abusive. It can be, right? But like teach people to be independent. It's just that like we need to frame these properly because you're gonna lose people. People are gonna be like, "Oh, you're being silly. You're being ridiculous." It's like, but a little bit. Like the framing is a little bit off, right? So yeah.
Gotta sleep with as many women as possible.
Hell yeah, brother. You don't have to do that. It's good to get it out though. In my experience, it's good to get it out. Fuck around with a few dozen women, or men, whatever. Do your thing. I think it's good to get that out to whatever degree you need to get that out to. I don't think everybody needs to fuck 20 girls or whatever, or 20 guys or whatever. But like, if you should play to shop around, it's not a bad idea. If you don't have the desire to, then don't shop around. But if you do, do that. But then understand that you should get to the point emotionally where you find somebody because you're never. This is a personal experience. I used to fuck around a lot. You're never going to be truly happy until you find the person that's going to make you not want to fuck around anymore. And like that's where I'm finally at. It's 32. It took me a long time to get there, but like there is a person that'll pull you back from that, and it takes a little while to adjust. But like I've never been happier, truly. That's not a cope at all. I genuinely have never been happier, and it's because I found a woman who exceeds my value. At least in my opinion, she exceeds my value, and so I'm like, I love this girl. I want to be good for her, and so you become devoted to that person, right? And you want to know why? It's because she set a boundary. She's like, she set a boundary that's like it's just you and me. Because traditionally, I've been in like open relationships before. She's like, if you want to be with me, that's just not gonna happen. And like that strength makes me horny. So. So that's it's why we're so happy together. You have to understand that. I think that some people, they're like, oh, if I set a boundary, this person might not want to be with me. Yeah, but it's also possible that person might respect the fuck out of you and like want to be with you more. And if they don't want to be with you, then you've dodged a bullet. You know what I mean? That's what the whole thing is. Or maybe they'll go like, oh fuck, you know what? If you're such an amazing person, I'll stay with you. And that's another thing too. Give yourself 100% of yourself all the time, even when you're not getting that from your partner. You need to like always give 100%. If your partner's giving 50%, then leave them, right? That's it. But always give 100% of yourself. Always show people what you're worth, and then leave them, and then they'll probably be miserable because they realize they fucked up, right? You want to always put that out into the world, bro. So anyway, tangent over.
To be a G. Still don't know what a G is. The fact that men still go around and are scared. They're scared to admit that they can be beat in a fight. They're scared and got to prove how tough you are. Yeah. Why? It's okay.
I could beat you in a fight, Daz, bitch. I'm just fucking around. Well, I probably could, but I'm just like joking.
To be vulnerable. It's okay to be down. It's okay to be depressed. It's okay if you are in a relationship and your partner who is a female earns more than you. Who gives a shit? If you could just strive for happiness and be a happy man and treat those around you how you want to be treated, I guarantee you, Andrew does not want to be on the bed, vulnerable, being beaten the shit out of by a group of women. He'd never allow it. He wouldn't allow a woman to cheat. Right? We'd all agree with that. I agree with that. Of course. A man can cheat, according to Tate. But don't worry, the first thing he said made sense, so I'm going to ignore the second thing.
Here we go.
The happiest women on earth have children and a man who's paying the bills and their mothers.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. But statistically, that might be true, but that doesn't mean that everybody falls into that line.
Happiest people on earth. I guarantee it. Your mothers. Ask your own mother. Do you regret having me? She's going to say, of course not.
Well, no, of course not. But then, like, you would argue that your mother's the kind of woman who wanted a kid, right? So, like that, you know what I mean? But they might be an outlier that women are happier without kids. Like, some might. But if you're asking the ones that have kids, they're probably going to be happier. And then if you ask the ones without kids, they're probably going to be happier with their situation. That's why we don't forcefully corral everybody into one area.
The best thing that ever happened to me. So now you're going to sit here and you're going to end your own bloodline, all the medical care, and you can live in a nice warm house for your fucking selfish ass to say, no, I don't want kids. I'm too busy in the fucking strip club or going to fucking Mallorca.
Why is he yelling? This is obnoxious and childish.
To have a pina colada on the beach. It's absolutely insulting to your entire bloodline. Everyone above you has ever done and struggled for. All the times your grandparents went to work when they didn't feel like it, just for you to exist, for your selfish ass to say, no, me and my passions and my dreams and my shit drawings and my Instagram page is worth more than ever having children.
Drawings. It's just any point he's trying to make, and this whole point is fucking wrong. It's always got to be interjected with, oh, your shitty Instagram. These women have just given very intellectual, very fair statements that what they want to do with their lives and how children would impact that. I'm a dad, and it does. It takes over your whole life. It's a dedication. Some want it, some don't. That's fine. I'm not surprised. Why am I surprised? It's just another video of another man.
Well, my question is does oh, Andrew Tate does have children. Okay, does he physically take care of his kids? This is what it's saying. Sorry, I'm using my phone instead, but I'm looking. Does Andrew Tate have kids? Wait, does he have kids? He apparently has 3 kids. This is what it's saying. I've never heard that before. Are you physically there all the time for your kids, or wait, does he have kids? I don't even know. I have no idea. But okay, let's just move on.
And telling women what to do with their own bodies and their own lives. It goes as far up as the fucking governments that run this world. We are still telling women what they should do with their bodies. No one has the right to tell me what to do with my body. Unless you're a doctor and you're advising I lose weight or I change my lifestyle because it's for the better of me. No one has. An entire generation of women, you're selfish because you want a career. Andrew Tate has already said that women can't fight. If he hasn't watched UFC, if he hasn't watched women's kickboxing, he hasn't seen the fucking Olympics, he must be blind. But let me tell you something, Andrew. Women can not only fight with their fists.
Idea if they do.
Women have been fighting for centuries.
They've been fighting for their pussies too.
Just for the right to exist. Whilst you're out there fighting for some belt no one gives a shit about, women have been fighting for the rights to vote, rights to do what they want to their bodies. There are still places in the world where women can't enter a kitchen if they're on their period. There's a lot of work to be done.
Based in red pill, guys. That's a common patriarchy W, am I right, guys? Ooh.
And it's men like this that hold shit back.
I mean, like, let's think about it, though. If these areas where women can't get into the kitchen if they're on their period, sounds like a vacation. Once a month sounds like a woman's privilege. Am I right, guys? Hey, sounds like those countries actually respect women more. Just kidding.
Not just because this ideology and this ego and this toxic masculinity, which is becoming archaic, becoming medieval. You're a dying breed, Andrew. And I will not have my daughter grow up in a world where the internet is pasted with your shit opinion on women. We're meant to be moving forwards. How can we move forwards when our future men, that could be gentlemen, that could be decent, just guys that don't care, guys that can fucking cry and not be judged. Guys like you breed.
Listen, I'm always going to judge you if you're crying as a man. Listen, I'm not trying to be rude. I think there's studies that link crying to like estrogen. So it's probably the reason why that like crying isn't as socially acceptable for a man. If you're a man crying in like a private space with like you're close with like loved ones, people that you're communicating with, like okay. But really anybody in like a public space that's like crying, probably not going to respect you. Unless you got something like your fucking dad or your mom or your fucking grandpa died or your dog. Okay, I can respect the dog too, you know?
But cry on your own time, bitch. You know what I'm saying? I've cried before with my wife. Of course, you have to be vulnerable. You need to find a woman that you can be vulnerable with too. Sometimes, not all the time, or she's gonna think you're like a pussy and like weak. You don't want to be that, but you need to be able to cry a little bit if you have like something to cry about. You know, that's like justifiable. But don't be doing that shit every day.
More hate. People are paying this man for his advice on how to start a successful company. Women have been fighting for years, just for basic rights. Don't tell me women can't fight.
So welcome to my bedroom. Aren't you lucky? Okay. Only you and every hot chick in the world gets to see this room.
She's probably handcuffed under the bed. No, I know. I'm not even going to touch upon the human sex trafficking.
You should.
You know, stuff like that. Unfortunately, I can't prove any of that, and it's been investigated. And Andrew has already come forward and stated that this woman was arguing, jealous, whatever, and then she texted her boyfriend, and he called the police, whatever. I don't know. Let's see how much logic he can juice out of us in this video.
All right, so
a lot of people ask me, Andrew, why do you have a machete next to your bed?
Okay.
Let's see how much logic he can juice out of us in this video.
All right, so we're going to skip past those allegations. That's totally fine. So here's my understanding, right, is that they were in Romania, and I know a lot of people I wonder if he's going to go into that later on as well. Maybe he will. Andrew's talked about how he wants to go to Romania for a specific reason. A lot of people say it's because he wants to be able to rape women, but that's not a accurate representation of what he said. He said he wants to go to Romania because he thinks that basically in like Western countries, the Me Too movement has taken over and it makes it difficult to be a man. Now, I don't think it's an unreasonable interpretation to say that Andrew Tate has a regressive perspective on sexual assault. Regressive perspectives on sexual assault is the biggest aspect of like rape culture in America or in first world countries in general. Those areas where historically these wouldn't be considered some kind of sexual assault, but now things are changing because we're understanding the different dynamics between men and women, and we're listening to the woman's perspective more, right? You know, to me, that speaks ignorance. It doesn't mean that he explicitly wants to, assault people. That being said, my understanding of the situation is like there's two parts to it, kind of. It's a little bit weird because it's very complex. Maybe it's not that complex. I don't know. So they were in Romania, and apparently they were doing a live stream on Twitch, and there was actually two girls in the house. This is my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong. The one girl, the boyfriend, saw her on. This is the story. Saw her on there and tried to call her and be like, "What the fuck?" And then she said, "Oh, I'm being held against my will." Now, apparently she wasn't. That's what's being said, that she went and got a pizza at some point or something. Right? And so he called the cops. But then there's another thing where apparently there's another girl there at the same time. And her mother was worried about her because, like, she wasn't able to leave either. Now, I'm not sure, like, all the specifics to that or intricacies because it gets, like, a little complex. But that's my understanding of that story. So, like, yeah, he was raided for sex trafficking. Did he do it? There's no evidence to say that he did. It could have been some kind of a jealousy thing. It's also possible that there was a girl there that didn't want to be there. I don't really know because it's all very up in the air, and there's a lot of back, forth, left, and right. There's no concise answer to what's happening in these situations. But I will say that it is a massive red flag that shit like this keeps happening to Andrew Tate. And so, like, at the very least, you should be apprehensive and be like, maybe not the person that I want to centralize myself around.
A lot of people ask me, Andrew, why do you have a machete next to your bed?
Whoa.
And my answer is simple. Why wouldn't I have a machete next to my bed? Why don't you have a machete next to your bed?
Good question.
Like, what if someone gets in the house, gets fresh? So, yes, someone knocks on my door in the middle of the night. I have to go answer the door. Just instantly pick up my machete.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah. Well, that says a lot, doesn't it? It's like he's hiding from something. It's like he's...
No, this one, listen, this is unreasonable. And maybe this is just me because when I was younger, my house got broken into. So I was like, I'm fucking like, I'm always checking the doors. I do it like obsessively every night, like 5 times and shit's crazy. But like, I think this is perfectly reasonable to have a weapon with you when you go to answer the door if somebody's knocking on it in the middle of the night or something's going on in the middle of the night. I don't think that we needs to get into like a weird territory. Maybe he's hiding something, but I think that this is somewhat normal for a person, especially that's for like a person like, yeah, I have a weapon on me. Just in case somebody breaks into my house or something. That's what's happening here. I don't think that there's any cause for speculation.
He's compensating. It's probably just the postman. If you have to go to the front door and
middle
fill
of the night,
with a machete every single time you go to the front door,
why not?
You've done some bad shit.
Maybe, or maybe you're just, bro, it only takes that one time. 99% of the time, maybe it's just some fucking kid lost at 12 in the morning, whatever. One time it's some fucking asshole with a gun or something. You know what I mean? Like, what's the danger in being prepared? And like being prepared. Like, yeah, why not? Have something with you. Why not? It's not bad advice.
You're worried about something. I go to my front door. Sometimes I'm still brushing my teeth. It's a fucking postwoman.
Yeah, but he's talking about in like the middle of the night. Did he not say that?
You need a waiting for.
Okay. So yeah, someone knocks on my door in the middle of the night.
Yeah, well, why is your postman gonna be there at the middle of the night? What are you talking about? Like
teeth. It's a fucking postwoman.
Any room I'm in my house, I can produce a weapon. And if you can't do the same thing, you need to think long and hard about why you're such a little pussy. So some dude, some little pussy ass dude.
So this clip inspired many people to say that Andrew's just trolling us. That this entire thing from the beginning has just been a character. A lot of the people that I've spoken to who know
was that the video? I think that there was a lot of other videos that inspired that. This video seems somewhat reasonable. Maybe you don't need a weapon in every part of your house, but
personally have said that this is not the case. This is exactly what he's like, and we can see it going way back in interviews to the Big Brother days, to his island survival days when he took part in trash reality shows. You can see.
Well, see, here's the problem: is that like I personally think that the character Andrew Tate is played up, but it's probably like the core of who he is, right? That's how a lot of us are on the internet. But I think you can't really say that. Okay, I used to watch Big Brother. I've seen like 3 seasons of it. I understand how Big Brother works. It's a fucking game. So if you're going to say, yeah, look at how he is now. People say this is a character, but if you look back to his days on Big Brother, he's the same character. So it must not be a character. Well, to me, that screams that it all is a character. Now, again, people are the exaggerated forms of themselves, but Big Brother is about playing a game. And I know because I've watched Andrew talk about this, and I know Big Brother, so it makes sense. Is that he's like, yeah, I was playing this character for the game because like you want to come in there with like an ideology. So he came in there as a big tough guy that was going to be like intimidating other people. His strategy was probably to be the best at the games, but then also to be very hated because then you put yourself in a position where it's like, okay, maybe they won't vote me out now because everybody will agree to vote me out whenever, so I can make it far enough to make it so that people have to depend on me. And I'm obviously I'm kind of leading I'm making some speculation there, but again, I've watched Big Brother. Like I've watched the reality TV show. If you're telling me that you think that his genuinely who he was on a reality TV show, you're just missing the mark on it. Like I said, this is probably like him exaggerated. Like he probably has a weapon in the house. He may not have one in every room, right? But like the idea that like, yeah, it's definitely a character because remember when he was doing on Big Brother? It's like, oh really, Big Brother? That's not who you are. I know that for a fact. I've watched Big Brother. That show's fucking insane. Okay.
See, this mentality has always been there from a very young age. And to answer those people that if it is a character and all these things he's saying about women in this video and all the other videos, is if it's just a character, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is going out there. People are buying this. People are believing this. It is encouraging hatred towards females. It's still wrong. If it's fake or if it's real. I remember I once reacted to a YouTuber who pretended that he was not only sleeping with his sister, but that she was also 13 years old. Turns out that she was one of his friends. They weren't sleeping together, and she was 19 or something. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's just for views." And that YouTuber reacted back to me and talked to me at a convention saying, you were talking bare shit about me. I said exactly what I saw. You made a video pretending you were sleeping with your underage sister. That's pedophilia and incest. Even if it's fake, which it was, doesn't take away from the disturbing nature of the act. Just because someone says something good and positive, okay, doesn't take away from the fact that they're an asshole. Andrew Tate donates to charity. So did Jimmy Savile. He should have moved to Romania too. He would have got away with a lot more.
He once said to me, yeah, but if it's next to your bed, what if you like upset a girl and she catches you cheating and gets a machete? Bro, there's no female alive, even with a machete, that would stand a chance against a
so stupid
immense.
Hold on, he's loading. Someone forgot to charge their Tate.
It's power I possess.
Okay. Anyone, and again, this is coming from someone who's a decorated athlete.
Listen, I mean, that's probably kind of a joke. I don't know what to tell you. I don't like Andrew Tate. I'm just saying, like, he's just being fucking absurd at this point. Like, Andrew Tate's being absurd.
That sport. If a woman or a man, anyone comes at you with a machete like that, it's not like the movies. You run. You don't try and disarm them and...
Well, Tate could probably disarm, like, an 18-year-old girl with no fighting experience that has a machete. I'm just saying. Because that's the girls he's dating, so...
Chop them. Wah! You're going to get hurt. Someone swinging and wielding a machete, you're not going to be able to stop them. And guys like this that think they're some sort of gods, no one can beat them. I just know so many guys like this, and it frustrates me because their ego is so out of whack that it's like they're not based in reality.
I don't know, man. Like if you really think that like he's gonna be I mean, like, listen, I think it was kind of just like a weird, stupid joke or whatever, but like now we're just like, yeah, if you have a gun knife, you'll always basically win against somebody that's like a fucking. This is just like weird. It's a bit gratuitous for the video. You don't have to disagree with everything of Andrew Tate in order to explain that he's bad. It gets into that lock where we're like, okay, Andrew Tate's bad, right? That's your perspective, which I tend to agree with because I don't think his ideology is good. So then you just start disagreeing with everything, and now people are like, this was reasonable, but this isn't. Like, we're going on a tangent now about whether he could disarm an 18-year-old girl that weighs like 120 pounds or 105 pounds if she had a machete, and he's like 6'2" or 3", and like 220 pounds, and he's like a fighter. Like, yeah, he probably can disarm that girl if it came down to it, right? So now it's one of those things where like if you are a contrarian to a fault, some people are gonna hook up on that and be like, yeah, like this seems a little weird, and you're gonna lose those people a little bit. I'm just saying.
You're going to get hurt, regardless of gender. You're going to get fucked up if someone comes at you with a machete. End of subject. Best thing, go the other way.
Have you ever seen a woman try and do anything competently?
Jesus Christ.
Like, see it coming. What would a woman do?
You obviously have never watched an Israeli military training video with women.
Okay, but I understand what you're saying, but like again, it's in the context of just some dumb fucking 18-year-old bimbo that he's dating, right? So like, they're probably not going to be trained like a woman that is in like the Israel military. Just saying.
Ideology that women are just completely incapable of any form of combat at all is so moronic. He can't handle that women could whoop his ass. He can't handle that there are strong women out there. This man is compensating for something.
I'm just gonna let you know, brother. I just want you to know, there's probably not a single woman in the world that can beat Andrew Tate. And I'm not trying to be an asshole. There are some really powerful women out there, but like this is the whole thing, is that even like a really well-trained woman, a man doesn't have to work as hard, like when it comes to these physical boundaries, like when it comes to like fighting, to be better, it's stronger than a woman. So like a woman could be like a career like Serena Williams. What is Serena Williams when it comes to like, she's like the top fucking female tennis player in the world. But what is she, like top, like it's 300 or 700 or something, or something like that. Like women's top, like, you know, when it comes to men, when compared to men. So like, it's like, you know what I mean? Like you probably would never lose to a woman in like a straight up like one-on-one, but.
This man is afraid of something. This man has to be powerful. And this is how he does it.
Bang out the machete, boom in her face, and then grip her up by the neck. Like, shut up, bitch! Machete's on the floor, her panties are all wet. You go, fuck her. That's how it goes. Slap, slap, grab, choke, shut up, bitch, sex.
Yeah, all women want that, Tate. Jesus Christ.
Every real G knows these basic moves. These are the basic moves of pimping. Fucking some little amateur. What if a girl picks it up? You're a fucking loser.
Whenever I do like meet and greets and stuff, or I recently went to a school prom, and a lot of the kids came up to me, and you could tell where their mindset was in this day and age. It's very concerning. Oh, well, all the likes you get, all the views you get. Oh, are you a millionaire, Daz? Oh, what car do you have, Daz? Andrew Tate has all these Bugattis and, you know, branded clothing and lives a very luxurious lifestyle. And he's out here saying that's what you have to do to be a G. That's what you have to do to be a man. You have to choke them and slap them and put them in their place, even when they're coming at you with a machete. And then they're going to like it and just fall in love with you. And boys, young boys are eating this up. Can't escape it. You slap an iPad in your kid's hand and you think they'll be fine, and they're not. Some kids are idolizing this image of Andrew.
I was just looking at the thing, and like I think somebody speculated it should be like top 700. It was probably somewhat accurate. So like even if the top woman fighter in the world, well, you don't have to be the top male fighter in the world to like beat her. So Andrew Tate would probably win. I'm just saying. I mean, we're going off into a tangent. It doesn't really matter, but
Andrew, just like me when I was younger, before they had the warning signs on the beginning of wrestling, don't try this at home. I fucking tried it at home.
Of course you did.
You know, it's no different.
I did too, bro. My friends and I would fuck each other up all the time. It's crazy.
Now, and his words.
But you know what's weird? It's like we kind of knew it was fake. Like you thought it was real, but then you knew it wasn't real. So you'd be like acting out the wrestling, but like in acting out the wrestling, you were actually just doing the wrestling. Because we would be like, all right, I want to give you a Stone Cold Stunner. All right, no problem. And we'd like slam each other a little bit hard. But we like, you know what I mean? Like you, like even we knew it was. I guess we kind of either part of us knew it was fake, or we thought we had to fake it to make it look real. I don't know. It's kind of interesting, but it is obviously very fake. Well, some of the bumps they take are real, but you know, it's all it's an act. It's acted out. I guess the people who do wrestling don't like it when you say it's fake. They prefer it if you say that it's like rehearsed. Okay, sorry, wrestling fans. Didn't mean to offend you guys.
And his influence are reaching far, far and wide. More than people like Taylor Swift, mainstream celebrities. This guy on Google has been searched many, many times. And parents just aren't aware of exactly what they're saying and how kids look at his lifestyle and think, so to be like Andrew and drive that Bugatti, that's what's important in life. That'll make me happy. I've got to slap a few hoes. That's as simple as it gets, folks. That is the world we're living in. Influence. That's why we're called influencers. I hate that word because it makes it look like puppet masters. But I can't ignore the fact that young people watching us are influenced by our actions. I grew up in the Vine era. I rose through the Vine era. I saw worrying challenges as they escalated. People setting themselves on fire and trying to put themselves out because one video got 1 million views. People died. People are influenced.
Just call that fucking survival of the fittest at this point, am I right? If you're gonna dump fucking fire on yourself, bro. Actually, it's horrible. There was like a kid who drank like boiling hot water because that was like a challenge or something. It's actually really fucked up. These kids are very impressionable. So yeah, he's making a good point here.
Influenced by powerful people online, and because he doesn't care, because he genuinely believes in what he's saying is right, young boys are gonna attempt to behave like him.
You know what's interesting is like he genuinely believes what he's saying is right, but then also it's such a weird thing to say. Everybody obviously believes what they're saying is right, but then there's also an interpretation on what you're saying to other people. So Andrew Tate might say one thing and not necessarily mean it to the way that most other people would interpret it. And so maybe he's not as bad of a guy. Let's just say, for instance, he's not. Like when he says stuff about, like in general, let's just say he's like not as bad. But it's how people are going to take the message and they're going to be like, they're going to interpret it through their own life experience. So especially when you have like a kid listening to Andrew Tate talk about like hitting women. Let's say Andrew Tate's just talking about like, hey, I like to get with women who like to be who enjoy being submissive to me, which is there's nothing wrong with that. And like when he says hit them, he's just kind of fucking around, or maybe he's referring to like in the bedroom where they like it, because there are women who like to be fucking hit in bed, right? But then like a young fucking 15-year-old boy's not gonna understand that, so now they're gonna think that like women want to be just fucking beaten, and he wants to find a woman to just beat, and then all of a sudden, you know, we're just kind of we're establishing like these really bad boundaries, right? So that's another thing to keep in mind.
They're gonna go to a young girl at school and they're gonna treat her like shit, and then that's gonna imprint on her. And you still think this guy is a G. You still think...
No, he is the G. Top G, baby. Commentate W.
This behavior.
While we're on the subject of how weak...
What the hell was that?
It's okay to support...
What the fuck was that?
This behavior.
Okay.
We're on the subject of how weak females are.
Jesus Christ.
Women can't fight. You're not designed to fight. You're incapable of fighting, and you're incapable of handling genuine violence. Every single time I see a clip of some chick in some self-defense fight bullshit, it annoys me because they always underestimate and they don't train for the reality of violence. If a man grabs you, you knee him in the balls and run away. You knee me in my balls, all I'm gonna do is get pissed off.
You get kneed in the balls. Okay, I've had so many dicks say this.
Well, I like how this isn't the... It hurts when you get kneed in the balls. I'll probably put him on the floor. What I find interesting, though, and it's probably something that he's not gonna lock onto, I don't know, is like, just listen to what he says again.
All I'm gonna do is get pissed off. Grabs you, you knee him in the balls and run away. You knee me in my balls, all I'm gonna do is get pissed off.
So like what this kind of displays to me, and this might be reaching a little bit, is Andrew Tate's like, oh, you want to defend yourself against me? Well, it's never gonna work out. I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. Like, why are you personalizing it? This is one of those problems. Like, a woman shouldn't need self-defense classes or whatever, right? But there are instances that they need them because of shitty men that will try to take advantage of them, right? I mean, you're better off getting a fucking gun probably. But like, it's weird. Like, oh, I'll just get pissed off. Well, why does it matter? Like, are you trying to aggress onto women in a way to like take advantage of them? Why? Like, I know I'm reaching a little bit here, but it's like, what the fuck?
You get kneed in the balls. Okay, I've had so many dicks say this. Okay, if you knee a man in the balls in the right place, we go down. It just is.
Yeah, in the balls.
No man,
that's the right place.
Unless you're one of these monks that have been training for years, can't even produce babies anymore because you get constantly kicked. So you lose all feeling. You will be dropped. You're full of shit, Tate.
Men are bigger than women.
That is true.
Like, think about it. When two professional fighters fight, if there's a 5-kilo weight difference, that's a big deal difference in...
Yeah, in fighting there are weight classes, and you know, women do not fight men. Women do not compete against men.
Kilos are like 2.5 pounds, 2.2 pounds, right? So that's like a 10-ish, 11 pound difference, 12. I don't know.
In the Olympics, most people understand that in terms of physicality, often or not, men are usually bigger, taller. You know, that does not make them better. because we have a physical advantage. It doesn't mean...
Well, that's not what he's referring to. He's referring to specifically within the fighting, like, realm of fighting right now. So I don't know. You're going off a little bit on a tangent here.
He'd win in a race against a female runner. She could whoop his ass. She could be faster. Doesn't really mean that he can beat every single woman on the planet in combat. Like, there are women out there that are probably taller and bigger than him. Believe it.
He's probably going to win against any woman in combat. It doesn't really matter. He's not going to date women that, you know, it's a massive outlier. It'd be really tough to find somebody who would beat him in a fight. I mean, we're kind of getting to this weird area.
Or not, but stating the fact that, oh, men are stronger. Men
like a woman that is as well trained as Andrew Tate will lose to Andrew Tate. Like, that's okay.
What are you trying to prove? What does that mean at the end of the day? We have different fight classes and weight classes in fighting for a reason. It's to keep things fair.
Well, he's talking about how women shouldn't do self-defense because they're weak, which is like problematic in and of itself. It's like, oh, you just want to teach women not to be able to defend themselves. That's kind of weird. Like, if you had a daughter, would you tell her not to try to defend herself, or like just like, basically take it? You know what I mean? It's getting into a really weird area for Tate. But
we all know this. It doesn't mean men are better than women because we are born with a physical advantage. Women are born with physical advantages, such as going through childbirth and their bodies... And the
it's a disadvantage to me, brother. I'm happy I'm not a woman.
Stuff their bodies have to go...
Not an advantage I'd like.
...through growing up is insane. Men will never understand.
That's like saying, like, yeah, somebody who's only 5 foot tall who has, like, the advantage in life of being able to fit in small spaces. Don't want that advantage, motherfucker. I'd rather be a big motherfucker, 6'4". I don't give a fuck. All right? Listen. I respect women, especially ones that can give birth. I mean, it's horrible. I just wouldn't want to do that. That sounds miserable, bro. I would never want to do that. Fuck that, dude. I respect it. I don't know if I call it an advantage though, because to me, that's terrible. You know,
what women have to go through growing up, both mentally.
I would absolutely be a trans man if I was a woman. I'm just telling you right now. I would be wrong in the wrong fucking body, bro. You know,
physically, such a stupid argument.
I will pick you up with one hand by your titty. Body slam your ass. When I grab you by your neck and you start annoying me trying to resist, and I just and then I grab you by your neck again. Then what the fuck are you gonna do when your face is collapsed and your fucking cheekbone's broken? You ain't gonna do shit but cry. You're gonna fucking cry your eyes out. Females can't fight. If you're
So what's the advice then, Andrew? What should women do when they live in a world of men like you? What is their only option?
a woman and you're going to any kind of self-defense class, stop. Because all that's doing is giving you false confidence bullshit. And next time you're in a situation when you need to run, you're going to start thinking, oh, I know what to do. You're not fucking Steven Seagal. You're a hoe.
Screaming.
Steven Seagal. I feel like that's the worst person to reference. Isn't he kind of a joke?
Run. Okay.
That will always be able to whoop your ass. And any man who's relatively capable as a man will always be able to whoop your ass, rape you, strangle you, kill you, anything he wants to do. Your only hope as a female is to scream and run. Self-defense classes give false hope to dumb hoes. They should all be outlawed.
Well, there you go, ladies.
I wonder if there's a positive message in there. Jesus Christ. That's horrible. I'd say get a gun. Shoot a guy, get a gun, or... Really, we need to legalize those things. I think they have them in, like, I think it's like Africa or something. I was listening to something about that, where you put it in your vagina, and then when a man tries to sexually assault you, like, it, like, cuts your dick off. That's what you should do. Like, it fucking, like barbs in there. Something like that, bro. Some people are like, oh my God, but what about the guy? So, the guy who's trying to rape a girl? Okay. Like, kill that person. Like, if you try to rape somebody, you deserve to die. Sorry, hot take. Not really a hot take. Okay, but, like... You know, I mean, I don't know. Like, what the fuck? I don't know. Carry a gun, man. That's what I would say. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Maybe Andrew Tate's right about it. Maybe he's like, listen, to teach yourself defense, it's just not going to work, and you need to. You're better off not learning than just trying to run away because it's better for you. I don't know if that's true though. I feel like that's not. Like, if you're in a scenario trying to be overpowered and like a woman has a decent amount of self-defense skills, they might be able to kick and then run away. I think that's what self-defense teaches you, is to like disable and then run. It's not like self-defense is like, hey guys, fight the guy to the death. It's like, oh, kick him in the balls maybe and then just fucking bolt. I think that is what self-defense is, and they probably teach you, especially for like women's self-defense classes. It's like, hey, listen, a guy's usually bigger and stronger than you, so what you want to do is you kind of want to like hit him in a way where it'll stun him, hit him in the balls, and then just get the fuck out of there, just run, right? Like, I think that's probably what they teach in self-defense. So Tate's just being kind of a fucking moron here.
It's hopeless. You are going to be attacked. You are going to be raped. You are going to fall victim to these guys that feel like they can overpower you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Words of the G. It's just, it's just so upsetting that this right now is the pinnacle of the internet. If women want to go out there and learn to fight, they can fight. Simple. And like I say, someone who's is a fighter, you don't half sound like you've never fought in your life. Often treats them like they're just silly little teenage girls, and he speaks to women like they're, you know, young teenagers. And we all know how he talks to teenagers.
It's fine. You know, like, if you ever, once you're 18, if you want to get yourself a real man, I know a guy.
You do?
I do, yeah. I do know a guy.
Who is
What? It's a long story. I can't tell you exactly who because there's bad things about him.
Yo, there's no fucking way you just said that. No. I actually overheard that. The fact that you fucking said that shit is fucking crazy.
That's an underage girl.
Jesus Christ. He's talking about himself. Hey, good for that young man for standing. I think it's his girlfriend. Was that his girlfriend? For even sticking up to Top G. All right, fuck you, Top G, bitch. Fuck, that's weird. People have told me about that clip, and I was like, okay. I looked at it. I didn't look at it. I was like, what the fuck? That's weird, bro. Like, that's just a weird thing to say. Like, that's just weird. If you're waiting for a girl to turn 18, I just think that's fucking weird, bro. You know, that's just weird. Especially at 35. It's not like you're like, oh, I'm 20, waiting for you to turn 18. No, it's like, you're fucking 35. What's wrong with you, bro? Even if he's kidding, it's still creepy and kind of gross. Like, why are you so bold?
And as soon as you're legal, honey, come to me. I'm a real man. I'll show you what to do. Comments that Andrew has made online that got him into trouble in the first place were such things as,
not only should women clean up, women should clean up unprompted. I will not administer CPR unless you're a hot female. If I have
that has to be. That's probably one of the clips that I was like, okay, he has to be kidding. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's serious. I don't know.
Responsibility over her, then I must have a degree of authority. For the same reason, if I have responsibility over, and everyone's going to lose their mind, it's an example, it's only an analogy. If I have responsibility over a child, I have to have some authority. You cannot.
Well, but here's the thing: is like you're just like it's just an analogy. But your analogy is you're trying to communicate that women are fucking children because you want to have authority over them. This is basically the same as like the it's just a joke defense. This is just an analogy. Like, you know, if I have a responsibility over a woman, then I have authority over them. And then it's just an analogy. It's not the exact same, but like, no, of course, because analogies aren't the exact same, but they are similar, at least the way that you're trying to communicate it. So if I have responsibility over a child, then I should have authority. So what you're effectively saying is that like women and children are to some extent equal or less than you, right? So that's like stupid. Like, yeah, I have a responsibility over my wife, and then she has a responsibility over me as well. You know what I mean? We just have different responsibilities based on the way that we have set up our relationship boundaries, right? So like, let's just talk about this vacation I'm on. Who packed? My wife did, right? That's like her responsibility. That's what she prefers to do. She likes packing more, and she's better at it than I am. Who paid for it? I did. Most of it. Who set up everything? My wife did. She set up the flight, the car, right? The rental car. She set up because we're going like between different places. Everything. She set all that stuff up. Everything is already done. I said, use my money, and then you do whatever the fuck you were gonna do. Okay. Who drove? I drove. Right. Okay. Do you see what I'm saying? We different people, and none of these things are like are static. You know, it's just every relationship is different. Like, that doesn't have to be your relationship either. Maybe, you know, you want to pay and set something up, but then they do this or they do something else. It doesn't really matter, right? Like, when we're on the vacation, who's going to probably cook? My wife. If we do cook, my wife's going to cook, right? This is just how our dynamic goes. So my wife is responsible in our relationship for me in one way, and then I'm responsible for her in another way, right? And it's different, and it's probably more aligns with the more traditional relationship, but that doesn't have to in order for it to be functioning, right? Like, I cook and clean sometimes too. I don't like doing it. My wife like enjoys doing it more. She also has a very particular way to cook and clean, so like if I don't do it right, she'll kick my ass. But I still help out, and sometimes my wife helps out paying for stuff, but that's just a cope for her because she wants to pretend that she's independent, and she's not. Okay, she's in love with me, and she can never do without me. But she's like, I have my own money too. Okay, baby, you know what I mean? She'll pay for stuff sometimes, like groceries and shit. It's whatever she feels like paying. Well, oftentimes when she does feel like paying, I'll just be like, "Don't, you're not paying. I'm paying." But when she, you know, there are times where I let her because I'm like, "Okay, yeah, well, no, fair enough." Because she'll be like, "No, I want to pay this time." But anyway,
not be responsible for something that doesn't listen to you. You can't be responsible for a dog if it doesn't obey you.
Just a few little other nuggets to throw in there. He's also said and stated online that he likes to date 18 or 19-year-old girls so he can imprint.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
What originally caused Tate to lose his Twitter account back in the day was, and this on its own, just swipe everything else away. Everything he's ever said that's correct, everything that he's ever said that is just awful.
Yeah, I'm curious, what is it?
This alone, one of his tweets back in the day that got his Twitter account removed was that he said, females that fall victim to rape should bear some of the responsibility for those actions being taken against them. What I assume he's trying to say is that they've addressed...
Did he actually say that? I would want to see that, but that's horrible.
...in a very revealing way they behaved a certain way, they led a guy on and changed their mind. All this toxic shit that I hear guys say, oh, she's a cop teaser. Gentlemen, young boys growing up, I want you to listen to me.
So here's the thing, is that there are going to be people who are going to be able to interpret that positively and negatively. I'm going to explain how and why. Not that it's comfortable to do so. So there's going to be people who say something, and this is most likely how Andrew Tate interprets it, that are like, oh, well, if you're a girl in the club and you're dressed a certain way, you have a certain responsibility for if you get raped. That's emphatically incorrect and wrong. But there are some ways, and this is the way I would interpret it, it's like, do your best to to not put yourself in a situation where you're going to get raped. If you do, it's not your fault. But like, you need to try to mitigate the unfortunate reality of the world. Basically, Ben Shapiro had a take like this, and honestly, it was probably one of his only good takes, right? It's like, if you walk through a rich or a poor neighborhood with like $100 bill above your head and you get robbed, is it your fault? No, you should never get robbed, but you should probably have not walked through like a poor neighborhood with a $100 bill over your head, right? So it's one of those things where it's like, unfortunately, you're gonna have to travel with other women. You can't leave your drink unattended. This isn't how the world should be. Men, and it's not all men, but it doesn't take all men. It just takes the worst type of men. You know, you have to be careful and protect yourself from men. That's unfortunately the reality of the situation, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of times women seek out stronger men, because now you have a stronger man to help set that boundary against other weaker men. Whether they're physically weaker is irrelevant. Like, it doesn't matter if they're physically stronger. If you're a weak man, if you're trying to take advantage of a girl or of any other person. Right. And so, like, you see how, if you really look at it like that, you see how, like, the system kind of sets itself up. Women, a lot of women want a strong guy because they're like, somebody will fuck with me then. Right. And that tends to be what happens. The guy, if you're like a big, intimidating looking guy, people are just less likely to even bother fucking with you. Right. And this is like how all these things kind of tie into themselves. So that, if maybe Tate was saying something like that, I so very doubt it. And that even if you were trying to like have that nuanced discussion, that's not the way that you would express it. That's really his tweet that's really fucked up.
And listen good.
Let's see if I can find
if a woman comes onto you and changes her mind, that's fine. Let her leave. Get over it and find someone else who does want to sleep with you. If a woman is dressed provocatively, if she's chosen to show cleavage, if she shows up to a nightclub fucking naked, keep your hands to yourself. Wait. No woman chooses an outfit and goes out and thinks, I want to be sexually assaulted. I want to be groped. I hope. Yeah, you might dress and think, guys do it. Oh, I might look nice tonight. I might, the ladies might.
Yeah, but I look nice. I might look sexy. I want guys to hit on me, but that doesn't mean that. This is the thing. You might want guys to hit on you, but that's not the same as like wanting to be raped, right? I'm trying to find these old tweets. It's from 2017. It looks like. So far, I'm not able to find it.
Look at me. That's fine. You want a bit of attention. That's fine. But the reason I don't go to.
All right. So this is apparently what he wrote. Sexual harassment is disgusting and inexcusable. However, a man looking at you or whistling at you or asking your name isn't harassment. Looking at you is not harassment. Whistling at you, you probably interpret it a bit as harassment and catcalling. Asking your name is not harassment either. That's like a normal dating ritual. This belief does... Secondly, okay, this belief does discredit as a whole. Stick to the serious definitions and stop pretending normal male behavior is rape. Secondly, Harvey, creep, obviously, but women have been exchanging steps for opportunity for a very long time. Some did this, weren't abused. Okay, that's probably true. There are women, and this is something that's... This is okay. This is the problem with like the Harvey Weinstein perspective, is that like if you're setting somebody up for a situation where like they will exchange sex for a favor, then you're basically making it so that if you want to succeed, they have to exchange sex for like that whatever accolade or whatever it is. So that is an abusive dynamic. Are there women who sleep their way to the top and like it? Of course. But when you establish that, what you're saying is that it is a mandatory thing now for you to do that. So now you're forcing women who don't want to do that to do that. So it's wrong overall. Absolutely 100%. I get what he's saying. I'm being probably a little charitable. Let's see, because there's a lot here that he said. Of course, now they will say they were abused. However, at the time, it was a simple exchange. They partook involuntarily. Not all, but some, but not all in any capacity. Again, now you're pressured to do that thing, which is wrong. Andrew then said, next point, if you put yourself in a position to be raped, you must bear some responsibility. I'm not saying it's okay to get raped. No woman should be abused regardless. However, with sexual assault, they want to put zero blame on the victim whatsoever. Yeah.
listen, within context, it's not much better. Or it's not good at all. This is something I would want to press him on to understand what he meant by that. Because that's not, even with the context that I've added there, doesn't make it any better. I can understand why people will be like, the first part, like, okay, I understand what he's saying. But this other part, not so much. If you go out, meet a guy, take his drinks all night, go to the apartment drunk, start to kiss him, then he grabs your tits, that's not harassment. I tend to agree with that for the most part. Like just because you're a woman that gets a bunch of drinks with a here's the thing. Just because you're, let's say this scenario, you're a girl, you let a guy buy you a bunch of drinks and you go back to his apartment and whatever. And you start kissing and then he grabs your tits. You may not have wanted that, and that's totally fine. But based on the scenario, it's understandable that he would escalate a step further. So you understand what I mean? And this is one of the problems when it comes to casual sex culture, hookup culture, is like, from the man's perspective, he's just like, I'm going for sex. So like, I got this girl drinks. She took the drinks. I brought this girl back to my house. She took the invitation. I wanted to kiss her. She's consensually kissing me. I grab her tit. You know what I mean? Like, you're just kind of going through like the motions. It makes sense. From the woman's perspective, she might have been like, yeah, I'm interested in this guy. But now we're at his house, and I don't necessarily want to escalate this quickly, and I'm a little bit like nervous, you know. And so I can understand why she would be uncomfortable, 100%. But based on this, like, I can understand what you're saying. But that's not the. Okay, let's continue. He continued. If I let $1 million outside my front door when it got stolen, people would say, "Why is it there? Irresponsible." Of course, take some personal responsibility. There's zero blame in the damages to female. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck you're on about. I don't think that like him going for tit grabbing would be some kind of harassment. But like, what are you referring to then when it comes to sexual assault? Like, because now what it sounds like you're saying is, okay, if you get drunk and go out with a guy and whatever, go back to his house and he rapes you, well, you let him on. This wants you to just understand that's not how consent works. It might be annoying if a woman takes drinks from you and gets you to go back to or you go back to his house and starts kissing, but she doesn't want to go any further. That could be annoying for you, especially if you got somebody from a bar and like the typical thing is like you were trying to fuck and she knows this. She might have taken advantage of you knowing that you wanted to fuck, but you know what? That's life, brother. When it comes to consent, you can withdraw it at any point and any time, and she doesn't have to fuck you just because you buy her drinks. So I don't really understand. Even in context, it might be a little better. Still not really better though. I'd have to really press him and ask him like, what do you mean by these tweets? Because it doesn't make any sense. It shows like a profound lack of understanding of consent. The only thing I will say is that, like, obviously this guy's a dumb fuck that doesn't understand consent. So I don't think he's trying to be disgusting. But that's how a lot of times, like, the old idea of, like, how rape culture holds itself up, right? Is people that are like, that's not sexual assault. Being ignorant to what it is as we grow and learn as individuals and teach young men to not, put women into situations. And so, like, that's your most charitable perspective is Andrew Tate's a fucking idiot when it comes to consent. But he doesn't mean poorly. That's very charitable. I understand. But obviously, we're trying to think critically here.
The nightclubs is because of dicks like him. I see it time and time again. There's nothing wrong with approaching a lady at a club, offering to buy a drink, getting to know her because she's pretty. We all know that this happens. But for God's sake, no means no. Or just read the body language. If they're not into it, there's this whole culture of like, but if I push hard enough, she might change.
Well, that's another thing too, is like to read the body language. It's funny because that's where we get into another issue when it comes to like, I guess you'd say like casual sex or hookup culture. Sometimes or a lot of times, guys will misread signs from girls, and they'll see, this is the thing. Sometimes guys are obviously taught to be a little bit more suggestive and aggressive, or persistent is how like society used to label it. And part of that's our education of sex through porn. Honestly, I think that's a big problem. Is a lot of times we educate young men through porn about what sex is, and young women, so it kind of makes them feel like that's appropriate, aggressive, encounters. But a lot of time, I'd say it's just the guy doesn't understand how to interpret the signs. Like, if you ever, and we all understand this, right? You ever he's like your best friend and you're out and it's like it doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl, and your best friend's like talking to somebody, you could tell that other person's into them, and then later they didn't go for it, and then later you're like, how come you didn't go for so and so? Oh, I don't know, I didn't think they were into me. Dude, they were totally into you. Oh shit, that happens all the time. You understand this, right? This is how it works. This is another problem with like hookup culture, right? It's like misreading signs, because we're all different. We all have a different interpretation of everything in the entire world. If you sit down and you drive a car, you driving like you ever had, like, this is something probably more for guys, I guess, but my wife refuses to drive that that Dodge Charger that we got for the week. Refuses. She's nervous as fuck. I'm not. Awesome experience. It's fucking great. Reminds me of driving a school bus again. I used to drive like school buses and transit buses and whatnot. I was like a cleaning crew manager for buses, whatever. So I love it. And it's comfortable. She wouldn't like it. So even that experience of driving the same car isn't the same for each other. I own a Kia Soul. I got a nice economy brand cheap car. I enjoy the car. It's decently comfortable. It's inexpensive. It has a decent amount of room for a big guy like me. My wife loves driving that car. It just speaks to her. She likes how crisp the audio is. These are things we all have different experiences that we experience through our five senses on everything. And so understand that that's how body language works as well. Like if you're more awkward people interpret things obviously differently, right? So I don't know, like I'm a little bit of an awkward guy, so sometimes my eye lock. I have like ADHD or whatever, so sometimes like my eyes will lock on something and then they'll stop, and I don't really realize I'm doing it. So to other people, they probably think I'm fucking creepy, right? Which is kind of funny. We talk about that was a weird whistle. It sounded like the Final Fantasy select screen. Anyway, talking fast. So I might lock onto somebody. For me, that's just the way that my brain works. But for them, it probably makes them super uncomfortable. You see how like we've mischaracterized that experience because they just don't know me and I don't know them. That's how these types of situations with boundaries and interactions work as well.
Change her mind. She's gonna change her mind, then give her your number and she'll call you. Fucking leave them alone. And I cannot stress to the young lads in this audience, okay?
And then again, like in the situation of a hookup culture, some girls might want you to be a little bit more persistent. That doesn't mean like assault them, but it might be like, oh, I want this guy to buy me a drink. So I'm not going to talk to him until he buys me a drink. You know what I mean? I'm not. This is why hookup culture is not great. It's so difficult to interpret a lot of this like game and shit. And I think that I've fucked around with a lot of girls, but I never engaged in like bar hookup culture. And I think that like there's going to be some areas of this where like a guy like DAZ, and I could be miscalculating, probably doesn't understand hookup culture, and that doesn't mean he's like all wrong. He's like 90. It looks like he's like 90+% right about this. But when it comes a little bit to the persistence in hookup culture, some of it is acceptable and encouraged from women. It just depends on like how persistent we get, where it's like, okay, this is too much. This is too overbearing. You try to offer, try to talk to a girl. She might say, no, what if I bought you a drink? She might open up to it, these are things that might be generally expected. There's a weird game when it comes to hookup culture. You shouldn't harass women, but and again, you also shouldn't be getting the advice from me because I don't know dick about shit when it comes to like specifically like bar hookup culture. But then again, the people you get this advice from are fucking like Fresh and Fit and all these other garbage people. So you probably just better don't engage in hookup culture.
Man is not how successfully you hit on a girl. Being a man.
I used to use like Tinder and shit like that. That's what I used to fuck around with girls. So
what does that even mean? Just be yourself and be respectful. The whole phrase "be a man" is something that should never be said to a young boy. Because that whole saying, be a man...
Maybe, I don't know.
If we put be a man in a tree and had it linked to all the meanings that means, be strong, be tall. Often when we're upset, we get patted. Be a man, meaning don't cry. Don't be vulnerable, don't show any signs of emotion. Look, if you want to be a borderline rapist that talks to underage girls on the internet like that...
I don't know, well, I don't...
And his philosophy on life is women aren't shit, and end up on your massive yacht, rich and alone, fine.
I just think that, like, I understand the idea of, like, be a man, be a little bit tough. I mean, if you're saying, like, recommunicate that as, like, be strong, like, again, like, showing vulnerability in public is not a good idea to me. I think, like, for the most part, you should do your best not to, and then if you do, I've been there, it's embarrassing for you later. Like, but show vulnerability to people that you love and trust, right? So, like, being strong, like, hey, toughen up. Sometimes you need to toughen up. Sometimes you need to toughen up. Wait till you get home to cry. Toughen up. You know what I mean? Like, if I fucking, like, think about it from this. Because, I mean, I think that he's thinking about it from a perspective of, like, a guy gets, like, fucking, a guy, like, your mom dies. And he's like, toughen up. That's wrong. You should be able to cry if your fucking mom dies. But, like, think about it like this. I'm on the fucking plane yesterday. And a kid, I think it was a young boy, sitting on dad's lap. Right. The flight attendant comes by and goes like, hey, listen, your kid has to be strapped in for takeoff. Makes perfect sense. So he puts the kid down. Boom. Instant blood-curdling screams. Right? So fundamentally, hey, you need to stop. You might be distressed because you want to sit on dad's lap in an unfamiliar place. See, if I phrase it like that, you're like, oh, I feel bad for the kid. Unfamiliar place, on an airplane. Maybe they've taken the airplane before. They don't like that their ears crack. I used to fucking hate that. They want to sit on dad's lap. It makes them feel better, right? You put them in the seat next to them. All of a sudden they scream. When I explained it to you, like, before I explained it to you, we all know that kid, I want to throw that kid out the fucking plane because shut up. But when you explain to it like that, now you're understanding that this kid's like, yeah, you know what, this kid's really upset. Makes perfect sense. But he needs to not do that. So you basically have to say, hey, toughen up to an extent in a roundabout way. That's okay to do sometimes. It just depends on the context of why we're doing it and what the situation is. Like in the situation, this kid needs to stop screaming because there's other people on the fucking plane and you're going to be okay. But you have to toughen the fuck up and chill out, or I'm going to have to not take you to Disney or something. You know what I mean? Like, or I'm going to have to, like, you know, you understand now that it's like, okay, it depends. When we say, don't say be a man, and maybe you should just be like, be stronger. Toughen up is probably better than be a man, because, you know, I think that women need to toughen up too. I'm going to raise my daughters to be like tough too, if I have daughters. But we have to understand that, like, this is what happens is, like, when you speak out against the term be a man, to you and your audience, that clicks and makes sense. But to someone like maybe myself and my audience, that's not going to click. And so, like, you're losing people, which is why I know that I'm going on like a long, maybe even drawn out explanations, but you need to qualify all of these different things, or else you run the risk of people just thinking you're a fucking idiot when you're not. Because, like, if you, when I do content, and I don't know if this is how he does his content, and I'm not claiming that it's not, he seems like a cool, genuine guy. Like, I'm being serious. But, like, when I'm doing content is, like, when I'm talking about how I don't like Andrew Tate, I'm trying to talk to people who like Andrew Tate. I don't really give a fuck about my audience, and they like that I do that. Because, like, I'm more like, hey, this is why he's wrong and you shouldn't be aligning with him, rather than like, hey, this is why we all know he's wrong and you know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between like, hey, this is why he's wrong and you think he's right. That's what I'm trying to go with. I'm trying to, like, be like, hey, maybe I can grab a couple of you guys to, like, get like a little bit of, like, de-radicalized, I'd say, for lack of a better term. But you might just be like, hey, here's why we all know this motherfucker's wrong, you know. And I think that this is one of those instances where you're just like, you got to be a little bit careful, which is why I like to qualify. Like, I know I talk a lot, but I'm trying to qualify everything I say for that exact reason.
Go do it. The one thing with all the corresponding behavior that I've seen that stands out there is obey blindly.
You would be able to have a relationship with someone like that?
Good question. The best female I could possibly meet is a female who comes to me and says, I look at your life and look at what you've done, and I respect your achievements to the point where I obey you blindly.
Yeah.
I don't want her to have her own opinion. I don't want her to be an alpha. I want her to understand the Tate train is on the Tate track. She can get on and off the train, but the track is laid. The stations are already set, and you can do nothing but enjoy the ride or fuck off.
I mean, listen, if that's the relationship you want, that's fine, but that opens you up to potential, you know, I personally, like, listen, if you want that, that's totally fine. There are people who want that. I get it. But my issue with that is that, like, if you're saying, like, you want a woman who's never going to fight back or set a boundary, that's really immature and pathetic to me. Because, like, I don't know why you would want somebody who's basically, for lack of a better term, a complicit slave. Because that's what you're advocating for. Like, no, I like it when my wife gives me shit. You know, like, because this is the thing is, like, if you meet a person, doesn't matter if they're a man or woman, and they assert strong boundaries, when you push those boundaries, because, like, and when I say push those boundaries, I don't mean like these like violent ways. I mean, like, in your every day-to-day, like, pushing a boundary is like, okay, I'm gonna go through it again. When we went to get the car, we were supposed to get like a mid-size SUV for this weekend. When they didn't have that, they're like, okay, listen, just take anything out of our presidential selection in this row. My wife wanted to take like a Volvo that was kind of like an SUV. I wanted this fucking Dodge Charger. Now we're in an instance where we're both going to be pushing a boundary on each other, right? We're pushing through a boundary. But because my wife is strong and I say, I want this, and I push through that boundary, I don't feel like I took advantage of her, because now she's just like, this is our thing. It's like he advocated for this more, which means this means a little more to him that the car means to me. So I'm going to give him over on this because I respect him. That's where then, and I want to, like, because that's what I wanted to try this fucking car out. Okay. I've never driven like a really nice car in my fucking life. I make good money now and I don't make rash fucking decisions and shit. So I'm like, fuck, I want to try this out. If I like this, cool. And my wife is like, I'm going to push through. I'm going to allow him to push my boundary. That's what I like. And you should want that too. You shouldn't want a girl who's going to roll over every time that anything ever happens. Think about in the bedroom. There are times where I might want to do something, or even she might want to do something that I may not be in the mood for. And the fact that we both have strong asserted boundaries means that when one of us lets go on a boundary, we're not taking advantage of the other person. That other person's just like, okay, understandable. But if you have weak boundaries, it's like, boom, everything's going to be like a push through, right? Hopefully that makes sense. That's why that's a really bad area to get into.
thing with all the corresponding behavior that I've seen that stands out there is obey blindly. Tate needs to date a corpse. His whole philosophy towards women is dangerous. And I can't prove it, but I really feel that this is the surface we're seeing. This is the very surface.
Possible, yeah.
And we're seeing cracks, and his mouth is big, and he tries to cover it up with donating to charities. Recently today...
One second. My wife's... I have to open the door. Sorry about that, nerds. My wife's home. Very small trip. We're going to have to whisper so she doesn't hear us talking about how stupid and stinky she is.
On his Instagram, he posted he was going to donate to a women's charity of abuse victims.
That's good.
I don't buy it, Tate. I don't buy it. I believe you moved to Romania because of the reasons you said you moved there. And I quote, "I'm not a rapist, but I like the idea that I can get away with anything." And then he goes on to say this.
Why do you choose to live there?
In Romania?
Yeah, I know you have like businesses and things going on there, but why there?
There's something that very much angers me about the Western world. I like living in countries where corruption is accessible for everybody.
You moved from England because there were allegations and you were being arrested on suspicion of rape. I know that to be a fact, Andrew. This man and his behavior, okay? And pay attention, because this is the point where people are going to come back to this video in some time and rewind or fast forward to this point. When he is caught out in Romania, everyone will see. I'm not a rapist, but I like the idea of being able to get away with whatever the hell I want. Can't see
Well, he's
it.
saying that like corruption is available for everybody, is what he said.
This man, he can't help.
I would like to see the rest of the clip though.
But let shit out. And that aside, all that shit that
Is
you
there
could say
more?
meh about, the stuff that he has literally said, the stuff that he is coaching young men to say, the way we have
It offensive that a police officer in England will stop me for speeding and then refuse to take a bribe. No, this is the law and order, and pretend that the law means something. But if you're a billionaire or if you're Boris Johnson, you can go to Epstein's Island, you can throw parties during COVID, you can do whatever the you want, right? So the whole idea of law and order is a lie. It's just about if you're high enough, you can throw it all away. I'd rather be in a society where if I'm in Prague and they stop me for speeding and they say, bro, you were speeding. Oh, here's $50. All right, cool. Bye. If corruption exists, which it does, let us all play. Why do only they get to play and I don't get to play?
Yeah, see, in context, it's not much better. I can't find that specific clip that he's referencing, but it's a little better. So the message of like, I want to live in a country where when you're speaking into the context of like sexual assault, he's like, yeah, I want to live in a country where we can all be corrupt. Like, yeah, it sounds really bad. But when you listen to the actual clip, or at least parts of it that I can find, and this is what the problem when I have with people that don't show the clip. He's referring to like, if the country is broken for some people, why can't we all have access? If it's going to be corrupt for the rich, why can't it be corrupt for all of us? And listen, I don't like agree it shouldn't be corrupt for anybody, but like I can see where he's coming from more, and it kind of like hurts when you're not showing the full context, because it seems like you're trying to hide something, you're trying to push a particular perspective.
physically with our own eyes.
Because I've seen him talk about why he wants to live in Romania. Let's see if I can find it as we're watching this. I've seen it, and let's see if I can find it here.
Seen him treat women. We are not stupid. I believe, it is my personal opinion, that he has moved to Romania so he can get away with a lot of the dark shit that we haven't seen yet. And we will. Tate, you're your own worst enemy. Your mouth is too big. You've said too much. And your donations to charity and your panicky behavior, because you've blown up on the internet and everything you've said has come to light and you're now being investigated. Get ready, because it's not going to end there. You need to be stopped. Your dangerous philosophies need to be stopped. I don't give a shit how powerful you are. I don't give a shit how much money you have. I don't care if you have a pair of nunchucks and you stand half naked on the end of your boat where no one gives a shit and twirl them around all day. Keep twirling. You say you crush and defeat all your enemies. How are you going to crush yourself? By running your mouth. Let's put everything outside that we think about him, and let's just put on the table for now what we've seen and what we know. That's enough. That's enough. Like I say, shrink it down to that one tweet about how rape victims need to bear some responsibility for them being raped. I don't care how young you are. I don't care what gender you are. If you're a human, any support going to someone who is capable of thinking like that. With what women are saying, and I can't go into too much detail, what women are saying to me, coming forward with evidence, are saying to me,
like we said before, like, I mean, like, we don't know how much of that is, like, verified or verifiable. I'm not saying that didn't happen. I mean, like, we have to be really careful. There's so many different clips about why he left. I don't know which one to, like, specifically choose. Maybe this will be a good one.
Why do you choose to live there?
In Romania?
Yeah, I know you have, like, businesses and things going on there, but why there?
There's something that very much angers me about the Western world. I don't feel comfortable here. I don't like the way it functions and operates. I think it's the most corrupt, disgusting, degraded societies on earth. There's nothing left besides money and corporate agenda. And I like living in countries where, one, there's some kind of moral fiber beyond the dollar, and two, I like living in countries where corruption is accessible for everybody. I find it offensive that a police officer in England will stop me for speeding and then refuse to take a bribe and pretend that... No, but I'll tell you why. Because he'll sit there and go, no, this is the law and order, and pretend that the law means something and fuck me over. But if you're a billionaire or if you're Boris Johnson, you can go to Epstein's Island, you can fucking throw parties during COVID, you can do whatever the fuck you want, right? So the whole idea of law and order is a lie. The whole idea of it's bullshit. It's just about if you're high enough, you can throw it all away. I'd rather be in a society where if I'm in Prague and they stop me for speeding and they say, bro, you were speeding. Oh, here's $50. All right, cool. Bye. If corruption exists, which it does, let us all play. Why do only they get to play and I don't get to play? So you live in England and they're going to come around and spout law and order at you all day long. But the elites, they ignore all law and order. It's always been bullshit. It's always been lies. So they're going to sit here and lock you in your house or force you to wear a mask while they get to do whatever the fuck they want. And I don't like being anyone's peon or anyone's sheep. So I like living in a society where my money and my influence and my power means I'm not below or beholden to any of these bullshit laws.
So, like, listen, I first of all, I don't think that, I think Western countries are less corrupt than other countries, and people are happier here. But listening to that, I understand what he's saying, right? So, like, you should have played the rest of that clip. There's another clip that's more aggressive, or more too direct about Andrew Tate talking about why he moved from Romania because the Me Too movement is like too prevalent. And again, I disagree with him. But, like, I don't know if I could find it. But it's just, like, it hurts your message when you clearly, from what I'm seeing, take that out of context. He's just saying that if the country's corrupt, it should be corrupt for everybody rather than the elites getting away with it. And for some reason, he thinks in, like, other countries, like third world countries or something, I guess, or second world, I don't really know how you classify them. Non-Western countries, we'll say. He thinks that in those countries that there is a better availability, like they're all corrupt equally. If you have money, you can break the law in general, not just the elites who have money. And I think it's a dog shit perspective, but I can see where he's coming from more. And so, like, you kind of did a disservice by not accurately representing it. I don't know if I can be able to find this. Is this it?
I got hit with a Me Too case.
Oh, really?
So I've lived this hell. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't a rape case. It was a false, a girl lied and said I hit her when I didn't. Long story short, she was in my apartment. I just started the cam business.
I know.
She drunk too much wine. Western women, man, just crazy. Drunk too much wine, threw up everywhere like an idiot. I said, clean up. We had a cleaner. She goes, no, the cleaner.
Yeah, it was a Western woman in Romania.
Cleaner's coming tomorrow. I said, the cleaner's not cleaning up. You're sick. You're not leaving this sick all night. Clean the fucking house. What's wrong with you? Wouldn't listen to me. Got all her shit threw out the window. I was just like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I heard the story. Then he wouldn't pay her. Basically, he was her best cam model. And it was one of his girlfriends that came over. This is the whole story. I'm just gonna give it a rundown because this is not the clip I was looking for. But he had he had 5 girlfriends at the time. He had them all come to Romania. He explained to all 5 of them that he wanted to do cam business and they get paid whatever. 3 of them were left, and which suggests that he is open to people leaving to some extent, and that's not all completely predatory. Just saying. And then one of them, like, he started to grow his business. One of them did really, really, really well, makes the most money. They got really drunk. They threw up in the apartment. There was like a back and forth between who should clean it up. She refused to do it because she was his best worker. So he kicked her out and didn't pay her. And then she apparently came back with a fake case. Now, I don't know if it was fake or not, but that was the story that he's told. So that's I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this clip. I'm just saying that, like, it should have been in here. I think that there are some areas where this is not well explored. Some of it feels a little intentional, like before, where like he didn't show the girl talking about like the second case, the blonde girl in the beginning, and here he didn't let that full clip play, which is only a minute and a half. And so, like, it seems like there is a narrative trying to be portrayed a little bit more than like the truth. And I'm not saying that the truth is far off the narrative. I'm just saying it kind of hurts your shit when you intentionally leave some stuff out.
There's a man out there tweeting that these victims need to bear some responsibility.
And again, I would have showed all of the tweets. Like, I read through them. I'm sorry. I'm like a little bit limited. It's not much better, but the context there is it provides. You should have provided the full context than just like one part of like a 7-part tweet string. I'm just saying.
To me, that just screams of a man who's trying to justify what he's doing. This man is a pig, and I've reviewed many pigs in my time, but this is the worst. And I have never had to have phone calls with women, and I can hear it in their voice. This man has been a pig to them. Even the ones, I believe, the ones that have come forward and said, oh, we're just laughing, that was our relationship. I believe they've just had to say that. because they're scared.
Wait, what? Hold on.
This man has been a pig to them. Even the ones, I believe, the ones that have come forward and said, oh, we're just laughing, that was our relationship, I believe they've just had to say that.
I don't know. Okay. Maybe. But now we're getting into like a weird territory where you're not trusting a woman based on what she's saying. So you're kind of doing somewhat similar of a thing to these women, some of the women. Like you're being... So this would be considered, listen, because we're in a conversation, like a form of like progressive sexism. Okay, let me just explain. What it sounds like he's saying, and listen to it one more time, okay?
Voice. I've never had to have phone calls with women, and I can hear it in their voice. This man has been a pig to them. Even the ones, I believe, the ones that have come forward and said, oh, we're just laughing, that was our relationship, I believe they've just had to say that.
Okay, so here's what it sounds like. Let's say he talked to like 10 women, and like, some of them, or it doesn't matter how many. What he's saying is that I've talked to a bunch of women that say that they've been interacted with Tate, and some of them said to me like, yeah, you know, this, that, and the other thing, but we like, that's what our relationship, that's what we like to do. Now I don't know the specifics, right? If he was beating the fuck out of them, that's obviously wrong. But if he was just a little more assertive or bossy, and or they played around in some way and they were okay with it, and it wasn't like boundary crossing, which we have no, like, for all intents and purposes, may have perfectly been, and then they're like, yeah, it wasn't that big of a deal. That's just kind of how our relationship was. And now he's saying, well, I really just don't believe them probably because they don't align with his narrative. But even if you think it's hard to believe, there has to be a line where like maybe they're telling the truth, and now you're just assuming that these women, some of them may have been abused, but some of them may not have been. You're assuming the ones that are like, yeah, this was fine, are just not mentally capable of making that decision themselves. In some degree, you think that mental incapability comes from them being so deathly afraid of Andrew Tate. It's possible, but do you see how like even the ones who disagree with this narrative, they just must not have they don't have their own agency. I'm not saying this debunks all the video. I'm saying that like you need to be careful here, because even if he is an abusive person, which he may very well be, doesn't mean he's abused every person he's ever interacted with. And so like you see how like this, to me, this is the stuff that the people that don't agree with him are going to pick up on, and this is the whole story now. The 10% potential or 20% of potential inaccuracy of this video is now 100% to all these other people. They're going to take it and they're going to harp on it, and if they can prove that you have an agenda, they can weaken all the other points they've made. And I think that there's enough evidence to say like, yeah, he has a reason to be, he has a bit of an agenda. Like I said, you seemingly intentionally left out the one girl's response in the beginning, that one blonde girl, the one that was in lingerie. You left out the entire string of tweets when it came to Andrew Tate. You even said here that the women who said that Andrew Tate weren't abusive, you effectively said that you don't believe them. I'm not saying that the truth is far off from your perspective, because I tend to agree with most of what this guy is saying. What I'm saying, though, is that it's very easy to be able to show that you are incredibly biased in this case, and it's going to hurt the overall message, especially to the people who need to hear it, which are young men who like may agree with Andrew Tate or may be on the line. You could have put them over the edge. You might have also de-radicalized some of them, but I think that it's very careful. It's very necessary to be very careful about like what's going on.
Because they're scared. This is often why a lot of cases don't get resolved or thrown out, because there's a lack of evidence or their word against theirs. And I understand it. Our justice system for sexual assault needs more work. And all these allegations being brought against him, and women still coming out of the woodwork, because now imagine if he is the guy that these women are saying he is. I can't prove it.
Some women are saying. We be very clear, because he just said before there are some women saying that he's not this guy that he's talking to. Just be clear.
But imagine he is, and then you're trying to live your life, and then all of a sudden you cannot get rid of the image of this man. He's everywhere now, and we're putting him there. And even to some degree, I know this video is giving him more attention, but I'm not doing it the way other YouTubers have reacted to him, laughing at him, passing it off. I cannot understand that we still live in a society where we cannot see why this man is disturbed, why the things he is saying, real or not, is besides the point. Whether he can kick my ass or not is besides the point. Whether he's richer than me is besides the fucking point. This is not how you behave. It's not how you treat people. And I don't know how many more women are going to contact me. I don't know how many more accusations are going to be made. But all
again, like, can you verify that those people had a contact with Andrew Tate? This is the problem, man. Dude, I don't
know is, and if Tate's got nothing to hide, more investigation needs to be done into this man. Someone needs to be looking into this guy out in Romania at why he has chosen to live there and why he's openly on camera said he just wants to play the corruption game and get away with it with his wealth. I don't think it stops at speeding tickets. Pressing, scummy shit that he says about women. They can't fight. They shouldn't fight back. They should obey blindly. I'm stronger than you. I'm more powerful than you. I'm richer than you. You are a vessel for a child and a seed, and that is everything that you should be, and to be anything but you're selfish. Put all of those things in a sentence. String them together, and you may as well cram it you're nothing. And tell me you don't think that these women coming forward might hold some truth.
They might hold some truth, for sure. That's not the same thing as what they're saying is true. Bro, you're killing me at the end of this video. That line fucking...
And tell me you don't think that these women coming forward might hold some truth.
They might. They also might hold some non-truths. The unfortunate reality is that a lot of people, probably more than not, have like an agreement with Andrew Tate's perspective in some capacity. A lot of older school guys and shit. I just don't know if banning the Andrew Tate was the best way to interact. I mean, I think it would have been better to just debunk. Those companies have the right to do whatever they want. I get it. I'm just saying. I don't know, because like then it kind of gets into a conspiracy theory. It's like, oh, what are they trying to hide? Oh, now they're just trying to hide some guy saying this, what, this, and this, and then you're loading a lot of this stuff with, you know, accusations that that you are weakening by admitting that like not all the women even say this about him. I don't know, man. I don't know if this is the best way to win the ideological war. Is to just like ban. I don't know. I guess I'm a bit afraid that it's gonna have a negative impact and it's just going to radicalize these people, especially ones that are already there. It's gonna radicalize them further, being like, see, they're right. The system is against them in this way or that way, you know. And again, like we're not at the point. If this was like literal neo-Nazis and KKK members, totally fine with banning people like that. That's very different. But we're not there. And this isn't that. And I know that it might feel close, but it's not even close. I just want you to understand. It's definitely sexist and shitty, and should speak out against it. But I'm just saying.
I have other clips.
Show them.
I have clips of him on a train being insulting to a lady.
Show it.
I don't know you, Tate, and I don't want to know you.
Is there more to this?
All I can do is review footage and react to what you've put out there. And as for everything else,
I wish there was more then.
I hope that it all comes to light and we find out the truth about you. Those saying, what is DAZ going to do? For all the Andrew Tate fans coming at me saying, what's this fat little YouTube going to do? This isn't just saying some insensitive shit online. This isn't leaving your keys in the car. Oh, little mistake. This is just years of destructive and abusive behavior, and we're filming it and laughing at it. What am I going to do? I'm going to listen to those people, and I am going to give them a platform to come forward, because that's what being human's about. I don't have to know you to listen to you. I don't have to know Tate to know that this is wrong. This is all wrong. It's not funny. It's not a meme. It's not worthy of a diss track. It's real. This is a man saying and doing these things, and people are giving him a microphone and airtime to do it, whilst paying into his business to learn how to be a G. I don't want to watch anymore. I'll leave it at this. Young boys and teenage men watching this, be a man should never have existed. It should never have been taught to us. Just be a good human. Yeah? Like, don't believe that you're going to be happy getting bitches, or all this shit that you see, all this stuff that we're fed as young men in rap videos, women filled with jacuzzis and throwing themselves at us, and it's not it's not realistic. It's not a man. Just be a good person and just respect other people. Ladies watching this one was for you. And I'm tired of men not putting their foot down on other men and their ideologies about how you should run your lives, your bodies.
Well, just to be clear, a ton of people are totally doing that. I just want you guys to understand, like, there's a ton of people who have been doing that. Like, a lot of guys have been stepping up and being like, this is wrong. I've never talked to, you know, our high value top G. You know, I was able to talk to Sneeko, right? Then you have like Destiny also talk to Sneeko. Hassan talked to and XQC talked to Andrew Tate. Like, it's not like people aren't standing up, and there's a lot of people who are standing up and they're speaking out against this. I just want to be very clear that there are plenty of people doing that.
Your minds, and that you ain't worth shit. I'm tired of seeing people have to fight just for rights and for love. And if this video has impacted anyone, if this video makes one young boy say, I want to be more like Daz, I want to do that as a guy, this video is a success.
Yeah, but there also might be a ton of people who are like, this makes me okay.
And ladies, this one's for you. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. It's been an eye-opener. Where we go from here, I don't know. My opinions are my own. For the people I've spoken to behind the scenes, whose identities I will not reveal, and that someone can be listened to, and if Andrew has nothing to hide, this can be properly investigated. Guys, thank you for watching today's video. I'm sorry, we're normally used to having fun here, and being positive and having fun and laughing, but today was just one of those Daz watches. Like, love, press my channel, and I'll see you in the next video. I love you all. Stay dazzling.
So let me just say something. I agree with the majority of this video. Absolutely. But I will say that it borders, honestly, on a hit piece on Andrew Tate. Maybe not that much. There is very clearly from me, my perspective, intentional withholding of some information that clarifies some of the perspectives of Tate. It doesn't mean that he's not mostly accurate about it, but when it comes to the abuse aspect, you know, I mean, we went through this before with the stuff that he seems to be withholding towards the beginning with that one girl coming out and saying, like, you know, that was just kind of like a game, whatever. You know, he removed that video from it. There was the aspect of not showing all the tweets. It doesn't make it much better, but it makes it a little, it puts it into context to be fully accurate and to fully portray the information. Even saying that there are some girls who actually don't think Andrew Tate, the people, you know, when it comes to the people who claim they've interacted with Andrew Tate, he says some of them said that they're abused, but then others were saying that, like, they weren't. And you're saying that you don't believe them. I just, it makes me uncomfortable. And I think that there are people who are going to hook on to some of the aspects that feel very disingenuous. Like before, not showing the whole clip of, like, why he wants to live in a corrupt country, you know, which, right? It doesn't make them much better, but it makes them understandable more. It makes it like where it's like, okay, I see where he's coming from, even if I disagree. But what you're doing is you're trying to take it and push it to, like, the word. Like, for instance, when he's like, the reason I want to live in a corrupt country, you're trying to make it seem like he wants to be able to get away with rape or being able to not have to follow the rules. But what he says when he elaborates is like, hey, if the rich elites in first world countries can get away with all this fucked up shit, then I should be able to pay somebody off to get out of a speeding ticket. It's wrong in general. I'm just saying with a little bit of context. Without the context, you're losing people. Without the context, you're just, whoever agrees with you already has watched the video. You made, like, a lot of money, and people watch the video, and that's cool. And I'm not saying you're doing it for money. Sorry. But people watched your video, and the people who agree with you already watched it. And that's mostly who's going to watch it. There's not going to be a whole lot of people who disagree with you that watch and go, I see where you're coming from. They're going to pick apart those spots where you're being dishonest. They're going to harp on them. And whether it's intentional or just unintentional dishonesty, and that's what they're going to harp on. And this is a video that, to me, suggests that, like, you're speaking to your audience more than you're speaking to young men who may have gone into, like, the incorrect direction. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think it was a horrible video, but, you know, again, I'm also very hesitant about, like, accusations that have no, like, these women said that they had a problem. Some of them probably did. Some of them probably didn't. Some of them might be lying. Some of them might be telling the truth. Some might be telling some truths, but not full truths. Some might be, because this is how things work in our brains, where, like, they had an experience with Andrew Tate, and then after it all finished, they realize the experience maybe not has been as good, but, like, they forget, like, how it wasn't really that bad, maybe. Listen, I mean, there's probably girls who were, I don't know. It's just like, there's so many different things. We don't know. And we didn't get any specific on anything. We didn't even get, like, an indirect, like, this person's not willing to be named. How do we know they're not lying? To deplatform Andrew Tate. How do you know, like, some of them are telling the truth? We don't really know. I'm just saying. And then, like you said, some of them said that it wasn't that bad. I don't know. It's all up in the air. And it feels like we kind of emotionally loaded it with very indirect allegations. Without putting them out there, which puts us into, like, a false allegation territory. And to be, whether you want to hear this or not, basically proves Andrew Tate's point about how he doesn't want to be in an area where the Me Too movement is so prevalent that, like, an accusation or an allegation that hasn't been proved or substantiated in any capacity could deplatform somebody. And you've unfortunately kind of proved that to be true, and you've given a lot of people a justifier as to why his move to Romania makes sense. I hate to say it,
because I don't like Andrew Tate, but you haven't really helped here, other than to, I guess, get him banned off of Facebook and Instagram. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and another special shout out to all my Patreon and Twitch subs. If you'd like to support this channel further than you already have by just watching the video alone, go down to the links below where you can sub on my Patreon, which will allow you to get your name on this beautiful black wall. Or you can go to the Twitch page and you can actually use a free Amazon Prime sub, if you have Amazon Prime, to subscribe. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.